So I will call to order the special meeting of the Rutland Town Select Board. Tonight is December 11th. Purpose of this meeting is to do budgets and also any other business. I will entertain a motion to appoint Joe DiNardo as acting chair for the purpose of this meeting because your chair is losing her voice. So is there a motion?
So move.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Discussion. If not all in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion carries, and Joe DiNardo is your chair for this meeting. It's all yours, Joe.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mary. So we will get started. As per our usual, we will start our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, so we have this evening a couple of select board items that we need to do, and we'll get those out of the way where we have all five of our board members here. Sharon and Mary are calling in, and Matt Getty, Kurt Hathaway, and myself, Joe DiNardo, are here at the meeting. The first order of business, we were instructed, well, maybe I'll start with the bond council. We'll do that one first. So as you recall, last meeting, we had voted as a group to hire Robert E. Fletcher firm as our bond counsel. Before us, we have, or I have, a basic contract, I guess, for legal services in regards to this. It outlines the costs that they had told us that they would be $200 an hour bond. There's some various, but it's pretty much mileage at 0.655 per mile, some copying costs. And what we need to do tonight is to vote to approve this. It also has one signature line, so we will have to make that as part of the who signs
I
it.
move to approve and authorize Joe to sign on behalf of the board.
Second.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve this and for me to sign, seconded. Any further discussion from board members? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay, and I'll vote aye. So that is unanimous, and for that, I will sign, Mary, on behalf of the town
Good.
as acting chair. And today is the 11th. Okay. The second item that we have this evening is that our newly hired bond counsel had made us aware that he wanted a copy of the resolution that authorized the construction of the McKinley Avenue Public Safety Building. First that anyone had heard of this. So before me, I have the resolution that was drafted. Mary, who drafted this?
This was drafted by Kevin Brown, our attorney. He did attempt to be in touch with Bob Fletcher, our bond counsel, but wasn't able to connect with him today. So if I may just take a minute, there's a provision in statute that requires the select board to make a finding that a new project is necessary and that the going to bond is necessary because the town does not have enough to pay for the cost of construction out of its ordinary annual income and revenue. So what this resolution does is basically ratify all of the discussions that we have had up to this point and all of the information we put out to the voters, and just kind of says all of that constitutes our finding of necessity and are finding that we need to go to bond or because we don't have ordinary revenue to pay the cost. So I would move this. I'd make a motion to approve and we can all sign.
Second.
All right, Mary made the motion to approve this and Sharon seconded. Is there any further discussion on this resolution for the necessity of the public safety building and the necessity for the amount that we are requesting to bond for? All good? Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Mary, I didn't hear
Aye.
you, Mary.
Aye.
I could see on there, your lips are moving, but there's no
Yeah.
voice.
So there's a little bit of a delay, and now I'm feeling what you people have felt when you have tried to call in and I've ignored you. So yes, I vote aye.
Yeah, I usually wait because I've been on your end quite a bit. Okay, so we all get to sign this. This is approved on the 11th day of December 2023. Without too much further ado, those are things, we did receive some information regarding possible sale of some property at the Thomas properties on Post Road. Nothing we have to do anything. This is informational for tonight and it'll be coming up in a later rendition of the board meeting. So we'll get right on to what we're here for. And tonight's meeting is to go over and discuss budgets for each department and approve those budgets as they will appear on the ballot in March of 2024. So up first tonight is fire. Christopher, we're going to let you go through your budget and we'll go from there.
You have a copy of them, I'm assuming. All right. First up is vehicle fuel. I upped it $500 just because of the pricing. Last year we went over, so I added 500. Vehicle maintenance and equipment, I left at 25,000. Building maintenance, I left at 7,500. Electricity, we left it at 6,000. Telephone stayed the same at 2,500. Water and sewer, I upped it $500. Heating fuel, left it the same at 9,500. Cable service, I dropped it down 2,000 from 5,000 to 3,000. Office supplies stayed at 7,500. SCBA maintenance and equipment testing, I upped $1,000. New equipment, we upped $5,000. Insurance stayed the same at 4,000. Salaries, we added, we put it up to 68,000 plus the 4% pay increase, which makes it 70,720. Social Security stayed the same at 6,000. Training, we left at 1,000. Uniforms, we added $500. We got a few new people to get a uniform. Medical physicals, we left at 500. Fire prevention, we upped to 2,000, so a $500 increase. Dispatch services, we bumped it up to 3,000. Dry hydrant, we left at $250. Miscellaneous, we upped it to 3,000. Administrative salaries, we upped it to, that's just the 4% pay increase.
Yep.
And the daytime wage, we went from 12,000, we put it at 18 plus the 4%, so it's 18,720.
Thank you, Chris. So does anybody have any questions for the fire chief regarding or anyone for that budget as presented?
May I speak briefly?
Go ahead.
Thank you. two major categories here. One is all of the building maintenance, electricity, phone, water. This includes the cost of both the Center Rutland Station and the McKinley Station. And we decided we don't know what the McKinley costs will be. So this
Right.
reflects just what we have paid in the past to give us enough money to take care of when McKinley is built and comes online. And I think we also talked about putting a similar amount over in the general budget. And ultimately, the McKinley Station will be in the general budget because it's both fire and police. And then on the salaries, remembering that we have new firefighters in on the 033 line for salaries. What traditionally happens is based upon the point system of the fire department, the firefighters all share toward the end of the year that salary line, because we now have more firefighters and we want to keep them. We recommend to you increasing over last year's budget, going up to 68,000 and then adding the 4% on top of that. So that brings it to 70,720. Again, it's to keep the good firefighters that we have and the good efforts of the officers in attracting new ones. Under administrative salaries, that is the 4% increase. Right underneath that is the daytime wage, which you may remember was kind of an experiment last year. Our firefighters, some of them work for employers who will allow them to go to the fire, but will deduct from their pay. And we didn't want that to penalize firefighters who showed up at fire scenes. So we increased the base amount from 12,000 last year to 18,000 this year, and then we added a 4% increase on top of that. So those are our changes in the major things, and the fire committee recommends this to the full board.
Thank you, Mary. I guess the normal procedure is we make a motion to accept and vote on it.
Oh,
For
then
each
I'll make a
budget.
motion to accept. Yeah.
And I'll second it.
Trevor?
Okay, so the motion has been made and seconded to accept the fire budget as presented. Any further discussion? Everybody pretty good? All those in favor, please say aye.
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
There you go. All right,
No,
that's
yeah.
unanimous vote. Mary, do we sign each individual one, or do we not worry about this until the town meeting?
We have to
The free
sign the
copy?
warrant and we'll sign that later. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just going to mark these approved and I'll leave them as we go along. All right. Thank you, Christopher.
Thank you.
Up next is our recreation budget.
Michael there?
Yes, he is.
Okay.
Yes, I'm here, Sharon.
Okay, are you gonna go through it, Mike, or you want me to? What are we doing? Why don't
I'll
you
go
go
through it.
through it? All right, thank you.
Yeah, Sharon, I think the way we'll do it, we'll let the department heads go through the budgets, and then any committee members that want to speak, like Mary did for the fire, we'll do that also.
Yeah.
Okay?
Thanks, Joe.
Okay. You're up, Michael.
All right, so I'll just go down for the increases. There was obviously the increase in mine as far as the 4%. We increased our lifeguards, or we reshuffled money, but we increased them to 53,000 because of our new potential paying for overtime and just making sure that we have enough, though I don't have a definitive answer on that yet. And she is going to get back to me with the definitive, but we put it in there so that we don't overspend. And I feel very comfortable with that. Maintenance went up by $1,000. Umpires and referees, they just get, obviously, to keep them, we pay them. So that went up. Electricity, well, we all know that's gonna go up, so that went up about 500. Telephone and internet, that went up as well for our new that we have and making sure that we're able to sustain that. And then on, well, what's my second page, what is probably your whole page. Starting with chemicals went up. Once again, all these have gone up over the years. Gas and oil. And then athletic equipment. The other thing that went up is our membership fees for whatever we join for example, like soccer in the fall. We join a league per se and we pay the league, and that takes care of the scheduling and the officials and all that. And then the last one is that went up was food, which obviously food has gone up. So my budget is up 4%, but I do want to stress that for at least the past 4 years or 5 years, it has not gone up at all, other than essentially whatever raise you gave. So I tried, but I can't in good conscience try to keep it at that and then be afraid to deficit spend, which I refuse to do. But I have kept it extremely low for many years without much of an increase by shuffling some stuff around. And I kind of can't on certain things now. Things are just too expensive now. And like I said, I don't like to deficit spend in any line account. So that's why I increased those. And that was also, I believe, recommended and accepted by our committee.
Okay.
Yes, it was.
So the budget numbers are, yep, just a minute, Sharon. I was just going to read the numbers off and then we'll go from
Okay.
there. The total budget is $175,792. Anticipated income is 22,000, which leaves $153,792 to be raised by taxes. Okay, Sharon, you're up.
Okay, first of all, I do want to say, Mike is one of those people that has tried very, very hard to keep this budget level every year, and there's a point where you have to stop. But I have immense respect for what Mike does, his interaction with the children. So having said that, I would like to make a motion, we accept the Rutland Town Recreation budget as it stands right now.
Okay. Okay, budget amount has been made a motion by Sharon to accept, seconded by Kurt. Is there any further discussion? Any other questions on this budget? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay, the budget is approved and passes unanimously. Thank you, Mike. Thank you,
I did
Sharon.
I just wanted to mention one thing, just to put a bug in your ear because it will come up quickly, and not knowing, though, I just asked Carrie quietly when the items for the ballot have to be put up, knowing that we had talked in committee about the new pool or when that's going to happen, and just potentially raising the depreciation fund on this next ballot, and just starting that basic discussion so that it can be on or off, depending on what it's not me, but just putting that out there that we need to start bringing in more revenue, so that we're not asking the taxpayers for a ton of money when we get to that point. So I just wanted that out there. We had talked about it briefly in committee, and it is coming up. Carrie, would you say it was the last week of January, possibly?
I'd say make a decision by
Soon.
January.
Yeah, we'll have to do it before the pre-town meeting so that the folks can weigh in on it. So.
Yeah, so I just wanted to float that. We talked about it briefly in committee.
Can you remind us, if you remember, what the rate currently is? And what
The rate
proposal
currently
is?
right now is, I think, don't get me wrong, is either 0.075 or whatever.
3/4 cent on how that's.
So we had talked before, years before, when we first did it, is bringing it level with the fire. That way it'll generate that amount of money quickly to help offset the cost of that. So it wasn't going to exceed that.
One of the things about that depreciation account is once the new pool is built, we can probably bring that back down
Correct.
as a maintenance amount, you know, to
Correct.
have, you know, and it won't need to stay there.
No, it's
That'll be
not.
one of the few that will be able to go down.
Without a doubt, and that is the intention.
Yeah.
And, you know, everyone has their own philosophy as far as, you know, save it now or pay it later, whatever. As you know, things are not gonna get cheaper as we move forward. So just a little bug in your ear. That's all I have.
Very good. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
All
Joey,
right, so next, yes, go ahead.
the only thing I'd like Mike to explain so the public would hear it, is what we're facing at that pool with the cracks and everything else. And I think he can better attest to that than I can. But I think it's important that the town understand the shape that the pool is in.
I mean, we all know it. It's almost a 50-year-old pool. It's been resurfaced once. That was probably 15 years ago. There are cracks all over it. It leaks water.
It's time.
It's time.
Yeah.
But my main focus has always been to get the fire building built first. And then we can address
Thank
that later.
Yeah.
So that's why I don't really need
Yep.
to go any further deep, but that is coming up on the horizon. So.
Okay, thank you. Yep.
Thanks,
Ready.
Mike.
Hey, Dave,
feel better, Sharon.
highway.
Thank you.
You're up third tonight.
in the world.
Yeah. All right.
We'll start at the top of the page, the Vermont State Aid. That's the money that we get from the state for our road maintenance. 120,000 is a general guess. It's pretty close to that every year. The state grants is 111,500. That's the 96 or 98,000 from Post Road Sidewalk, and I got $15,000 grant and aid for culvert work. So that's the 115, which gives us anticipated income of 231,500. And then get into the expenses. Winter salt, we raised that $5,000. The price of salt goes up every year and stayed pretty much the same for a bunch of years. So we went up $5,000 with that. Winter equipment rental stayed the same. Salt shed utilities went down. That's basically just the lights for the salt shed, which are very seldom on. I think we spent $275 last year, so I went with 300. So that's down a little bit. Winter supplies stayed the same at 7,500. Winter miscellaneous stayed the same at 500. Go down to hot mix, cold mix, cold patch went down to 2,000 from 2,200. Equipment rentals is 10,000, stayed the same. Highway garage utilities is 15,000, we went up 3,000. Basically lights, heat, hot water, that whole thing. Summer supplies stayed the same as 6,500. New equipment is 2,000, stayed the same. Signs and barricades, we went up to 3,000 just because we're buying more and more signs, and we're getting to the point where some of our retro reflective stuff needs to be replaced. So we're gonna have a little bit of expense there. Culvert replacement, we went from 50,000 down to 35,000. We're looking at doing quite a bit of culvert work this year, but 50,000 is a lot of money to spend on culverts. And I believe part of that 50,000 was from a past project, wasn't it? From
Could have been.
That.
I think we spent everything for the town line one.
yeah,
And I think the other was just kind of to have it.
Okay.
It's kind of an emergency fund, just in case something happens too, but you have a regular culvert maintenance schedule too, so.
Right.
Yeah.
miscellaneous stayed the same at 2,000. Retreatment paving, we added 50,000 to that. Just the price of asphalt's going up every year, and
So on that one, Dave, do you intend to spend more than that for paving? But
Yes.
This is what we're budgeting for new.
Right.
You'll have some left over from the reimbursement from Town
Town
Line
Line
Road.
Road, correct. Yep. Uh, Road project equipment rentals stayed the same at 15,000. Road project materials, 15,000 stayed the same. Line striping, we increased that from 1,000 to 2,000 just for crosswalks, whatever, and we may have to get into some sort of a white line striping project on Grove Street, maybe, I'm not sure, just in case. And then we get to skip through a whole bunch of stuff. Then we come down to social security, municipal retirement, health insurance. These all are increased, and that's just basically cost of doing business. Training, 200 stayed the same. Sidewalk grant, 16,000 stayed the same. Engineering services was 30,000, stayed the same. Winter contractors, we went from 80,000 down to 75,000 for our contract guys. And then the other, we have to pay, like Mendon to do our plowing and stuff like that coming out of there. Commissioner's salary, just that 4% increase, and then full-time position 1, 2. Communications, we went up from 2,500 to 3,500. Use that, we lease, I guess, some handheld radios for our winter contractors, so that comes out of there. Vehicle fuel, you could put any number there. That's throwing a dart at a dartboard, but we went from 15,600 to 18,000. Maybe we hit it, maybe we don't. Vehicle equipment maintenance, added 2,000 to bring it up to 30,000 for vehicle maintenance. Full-time position 3, again, that went up from 46 to 47,840, and again, that's the 4% rate increase. Our part-time position, basically the same thing. Overtime went from 6,000 to 8,000. On-call pay stayed the same. It's $100 a week for 52 weeks. Our building maintenance stayed the same, and our class 4 road maintenance is at 3,000 for grading and potholes and all that kind of stuff, which brings our total budgeted expenses to $1,086,969, less the $231,500 would
Actually, we only deduct the state aid.
just the state aid. Okay. So that brings it, which is 120,000. So that brings the amount needed to be raised by taxes to $966,969.
Very good. Thank you, Dave. So Kurt and I are on the highway committee with Dave. We kind of went over this budget. Most of what's in here just reflects basically the cost of doing business and the expense it's gotten. There's no real increases for anything. One of the things that concerns me a little, and we'll have to talk about this going forward, is that we spend approximately the same dollars every year for paving, but it doesn't buy us the same amount of pavement. So we'll just have to think about that as we go forward to try to keep with the schedule we have in hand. But otherwise,
And quite honestly, I was going to do something more than what I did, but because I do have that 200,000 back from Town Line Road for this year or for next year.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't really get crazy with it, but you're right. It's definitely going to have to look at it.
that's one of the items that in order to keep your paving schedule on the roads and pretty good repair and not get behind, that'll have to start showing some kind of a cost of living increase, kind of almost, whatever, but we'll work on that as we go forward. So, all right, very good. I would entertain a motion.
Move we approve the highway budget.
budget.
Is that a second?
Was that a second, Sharon, or a motion? Kurt made the
Oh, I
motion.
thought it was motion. Kurt made the motion, then I second it.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Sharon. All righty,
You're
so. Any further discussion on the highway budget as presented by Dave? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Very good. And I'll vote aye. So unanimously approved. Very good. Thank you,
Thank
Dave. Chief Dumas, you are next in the hot seat.
My wife calls me, let's talk right now.
Okay, we'll have to do this again another night.
So start off, we'll do the SRO reimbursement was 37,100. Social Security, up to 28,000 from 25 the previous year. My salary, the 4% is 83,751. Outside detail salary is 55,000. Deputy chief is 78,918. First officer is Officer Placus is 64. SRO salary is 6721. We've added a third officer. That's a third position for an officer. It started at 58,386. Increased our overtime from 10 to 20. Office staff is at 48,283. Communication is 15. Supplies and uniforms 4,000. Equipment, we lowered it to 15. Fuel maintenance, we upped it 22. Training, we kept it at 10. We did away with the vehicle liability insurance. Health insurance is at 108. Retirement is 29,100, and the K9 program we kept at 4,000. So the 20,000 we increased that because if we add the third officer, it's going to go up there. My salary was a 4% increase. The outside detail is what we spent last fiscal year on down at the plaza. That was from November to June 30th of last year, of the last budget year. Other increase here. We increase the first officer's salary to 64 because he's a level 3 certified police officer. Our SRO is a level 2 certified police officer. The amount of work that our level 3 officer is doing is tremendous, especially with the K9 program. He's busy all the time. And in order to keep our current staff, it's something we have to do. We decided on a third officer if it's a level 3 person that we hire, they get 58,386. If they're less than that, it would be a lower salary item.
It'll depend on what you find.
Correct. The overtime went from 10 to 20. Just simply, we're busy at this point in time. Lynn got the 4% raise. Communication went from 12.5 to 15. Just simply, we added an expense of the car-to-car radios, like similar to what the highway department has, to alleviate some of the burden that the VSP dispatcher has during the day or when we're working. So a lot of stuff we can take care in-house and keep radio traffic down. That was the increase there. Supplies and uniforms, we kept the same. Equipment, we went down because the last budget year we had the signs we want to put up for speed enforcement, or not enforcement, but let people know how fast going by the school zone. So we had that. There were 6,000 for those 2 signs. Fuel maintenance went up because of maintenance. Our fuel's a little more. And retirement went up because if we have this after, if we add the third officer. Total increase would be 21.23%.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Ed, for presenting that. So at this time, I will entertain a motion.
I make a motion, we accept the police budget as stands.
So I'll second it for the sake of discussion, and there's some things we need to add to this.
Yeah.
Okay, so the motion has been made and seconded. Discussion.
So, we're still in discussions with Carrie and Andrew about accounting issues and how to handle the hotel settlement funds, both reflecting on the prior year and how to reflect them in this budget. Because we do intend to use some of those funds towards funding some of this stuff. So right now, this looks like a giant increase, but I don't really think that's, I haven't actually crunched these numbers, but I don't think that's really going to be an accurate reflection of what's going to happen here when we get this figured out. So I think we still need to work on some of these details perhaps before we finalize it at this point, but Mary can weigh in as well, but we still have time to go back to this.
Yeah, I'm going to move to table for the very reasons that Matt said. We do support adding another officer, and you've seen the numbers reflected here. We've discussed the pay increase bump ups, and we're fine with them. But we do need to have a session with our town auditor and with our town treasurer to make sure we're properly accounting for the settlement funds. So that's why I'm asking that we are moving to table. So give us a chance to do that and then come back in and report.
Okay. Yeah, I do have a question on the outside detail amount, that 55,000. I would think that would be coming out of those funds. So, and I'm assuming that's part of the
Yes.
discussion you guys need to work out.
Correct.
So it's been moved to table this. Do we have to vote on that, Mary?
I think for tabling, yes. And there was no second though, so maybe people don't want to.
Second.
It's been seconded by Kurt.
Okay.
This is one that we knew that there was some
There's some
glitches out there.
weird
so-
accounting to that
Yeah.
you have to reflect on a piece of paper appropriately.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, we know how it should, we know how we want it to go, but how you reflect it on the piece of paper gets complicated.
To be able to explain, it's more to be able to explain this when you ask questions.
Yeah, because like when you have that 285,000 in the actual line, but we didn't actually apply all that 285,000 to the budget, you know, so you gotta
And
figure all that out.
one of the things, and it's, there's some stipulations in our agreement with the Cortina that, when they came to my attention, I'm unhappy with, I guess. But anyway, so yeah, I think this is good. I don't think tabling this reflects that we don't support it. It just reflects that we do need to, just get some of these numbers figured out and how to apply the income that we have received. So, all right. Enough discussion. So we have a motion to table. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, all right, motion is approved, and this one budget will be tabled until further notice. All right, so the four easy ones are done. Now we move on to the more complicated evening's work. So I will start with this and we will go down line by line. Let me see here. Top should be anticipated. Carrie, do you want to kind of sit with us up front and kind of go over some of this anticipated stuff? I think you understand some of these numbers and I'm sure you had a lot to do with putting those in here.
Yeah, most of them.
Yeah.
I think that transfer station the star part of it too.
Right, yep, Larry's here. Yep, those are the three that are incorporated. It's the general, the transfer station and the listers. So page one of our stack of general is the anticipated incomes.
You just want me to,
Yeah, just go through them kind of quick and if you want to explain kind of quickly what you're thinking, but
so I think that when it comes to anticipated income, I've always been very reluctant to overthink that we're going to get money when we may not. So
Right.
I'm reserved when it comes to this.
conservative numbers, is that a
Yeah.
good word?
Yeah. So I don't want to, even though we have collected a good amount in delinquent taxes, I think just leaving it at what it was last year at 100 grand is sufficient enough. So I kept the delinquent property taxes and the tax interest at the same as last year. We don't ever fill in the fees until we actually get the appropriate
Right.
number. So I put the interest at 20 grand. We certainly went well above what we anticipated last year, but we just don't know what the interest is doing in the banks for this next year. So we kind of took a middle ground. We didn't want to go too low and we certainly didn't want to go super high. Right now, on average, some of our accounts are taking in a good chunk of interest right now, but you never know what's going to happen.
Joe, I wonder, does it make sense to ask questions on some of these as we go along? Because
It might be
a
easier
lot of
because
pages
this
here
is,
and
this
I'm
is the
going,
most
yeah.
complicated budget and there's 4 pages of it. So we can go that route. I'm okay.
so
with it,
I've
yeah.
got a couple if you don't mind.
Sure.
So just starting at the top of the delinquent taxes, I mean, we've only, on this sheet, we've only got the 1 year of the 22-23 actual performance. And I'm wondering if you've looked back over several years and have any insight to add on what that typically runs. I mean, is it generally a wide variation or?
So on average, we're at the end of the fiscal year, we're usually looking for pretty much $250,000 is usually the amount of money around there that we didn't collect for the year. When I first came aboard, this budget, this revenue was really low. Like they weren't anticipating much coming in at all. I wanted to bump it up based on what we were seeing a trend, and that's where the $100,000 came. So we're hovering around there. We usually exceed it. And that actual number for 22-23, we've exceeded it for what's come in now. But again, I like to be really reserved and not count all the,
How much have we exceeded it at this point?
I don't have the figure at the top of my head. Don likes to have that figure at the top of his head usually.
So I've pulled out the last 2
Something.
town reports.
Kurt's doing the same thing.
Minds think alike.
Okay.
Your fault. It's not a-
So, let's see. So the 2020-2021 budget year was 288,000. And the 2021-2022 was 420,000.
So I don't know.
Out of 3 years, they're all
And then
over 200.
The last one was 22-23 is 235.
So you know, we just went through a bunch of smaller budgets with, 9% increases and stuff, which is, starting to add up. And so I appreciate being conservative, but I wonder if the 100 is really realistic or if it's too low and if it would
You
be.
can increase it to 200, but I wouldn't go in.
Well, I don't even
more
know
than
if I would go
that.
that high, but even if we went to like 150, it takes care of some of these other.
So the anticipated income, when we go over, like we did that one year with, you anticipated like 100,000 and we got 400, where does the extra go? Does that just get,
It covers, if other budgets come up deficit somewhere along
Somewhere.
the line, we're
where
covering.
They're the
we're-
bottom line. So like if, I think one year, I think maybe the police budget went over a little bit, so
Right.
that would go to cover that
Right,
shortage, so we
Right.
don't,
because it's all a net in the end.
Right.
Yeah.
okay,
Mhm.
so.
Except you've already raised by taxes, maybe more than you
Well, then
absolutely had to, right? in
After
retrospect.
that, the rest gets swept.
And-
Swept.
Right, anything after that ends up in the capital improvement fund, so if I kind of like, they don't want to, it's like with the 1% money,
Right.
we were very I think we're always conservative with what we anticipate. In the last 2 years, we've been very fortunate, so.
At some point, though, I
I
guess I
think-
wonder, are you too conservative? Because if you look like you're way underestimating year after year after year,
Yeah.
people are gonna look at you and say, well, why are you raising my taxes to make a revenue when you've really got it coming in? With some of these budget increases, it's a
I
question.
mean, we can
we have to think
bump that.
about.
What was your idea? 150?
That
I was thinking I could see that.
Still sounds really conservative
but-
based on those numbers. I think, yeah, that would,
You too.
Yeah,
175.
anybody have a book older than this?
I mean,
What do you got?
the last 3 fiscal years, we've been 235 to
Yeah,
450.
that's 21, 22, and this is the one with no year on it.
I mean, if
Like a year
everybody's
return.
really on top of getting their taxes, and then they won't beat them with taxes.
There
put
you
up.
go.
So you never know, but
Yeah,
seems like there's a trend.
I mean, we can adjust it. I mean, if that's what you're thinking, we can go with the 2.
And we'd be safe at 2.
I think so too.
You think it's safe, then let's do that.
Okay.
Don't do anything you
100
think it's not
grand
safe.
goes a long ways in a budget.
For sure. I mean, that covers a bunch of that stuff we just increased.
Yeah,
Similarly with the interest, so 117 was the actual in 22, 23, and I don't know.
One
Were
thing
you
to keep
looking
in
at-
mind, Matt,
Mhm.
is that we are going to be spending
I know, that's what I
$3
was
million
gonna say
of
next.
probably that 3 million reflected into that.
I'm so glad that you said that because it's
Yeah.
going to get reduced.
Because we're
and
going to be,
the
that's going to go
interests are
down, so
gonna
you're
go-
not going to be
uh-huh.
drawn from 3 million.
Right,
Yeah.
so that obviously has to take into account whatever our normal bank balance would be. But interest rates were rising pretty rapidly during that time, 22, 23 and beyond, because that ends, last June. So interest rates have been climbed even after that. I doubt they're gonna drop real soon, so we don't know what's gonna happen, but I think we can expect them to be a lot higher than they were a couple of years ago for a while.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, so like 2021, we had 9,800 in interest. Should just kept this open.
Yep. Since you're the official
The researcher.
researcher along with Mary.
Let's see. We had 7,700 in
Yeah.
21,
so
22.
20 might be the right number then, based on a normal bank balance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that, and the fact that we are going to be spending that.
We do have better interest rates, but I don't know if they're that much better yet.
Okay. They're good, Matt?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So question,
Go ahead.
were we
Go ahead,
talking
Mary.
about delinquent tax interest or bank's interest or both?
Bank interest.
Bank's interest is what we were looking at, Mary. If, as you recall, last year, we did really good, but I think
Yeah.
part of that reflected the pool of money that we had acquired and we were putting toward the public safety building, and that pool of money will be gone come February, March. So we won't have as many funds to be collecting interest on. So we won't see those high numbers. And then Kurt did a little research there. And on average, we're looking between 7,500 and 10,000 per year
Yeah,
in
no,
interest. So
I've got the past budget books pulled out too. I was just wondering which line we were talking about.
okay, so that's where we are, the bank interest, and we're going to probably leave that at 20.
Okay,
So we did some figuring on what comes in and what goes out back to the state on dog licenses and marriage licenses. And we think these are two pretty accurate reflections of, based on the average of numbers of how many dogs were getting licensed. So 2750 coming in, and then there's an expense side on the other side of what we have to send to the state. Same with marriage licenses. We kind of, you never know who's going to stop here for a marriage license. It's really a crapshoot. I skipped over the transfer station. While I'm up here, do you want me to just go to the ones that I'm in charge of? Or do you want
The income
Dale to
side is
come sit
fine. then.
next to me?
Might as well we're right here. I
Yep,
guess.
we'll go right through it. We won't skip any lines.
Okay.
Hey, sir.
Okay, from line 035190.
No, we're in the income.
We're on income,
Oh, on
40.
transfer station. Transfer station income was just under 55,000. I don't remember the exact.
Okay.
We're just under 55.
You want me to sit?
Yeah,
Okay,
just under 55.
just under 55, so 55.
So is that all three? That's,
That was all three put together.
okay, so this is.
And
broken down.
that was basically the recyclables.
Right, yeah, you have a recyclable line at about,
Yeah, they're
13.
way down.
yeah, and then the miscellaneous is around 10 and 43,000 for the coupons. So those reflect pretty much actual numbers. So,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah,
So what are
they
we
are.
gonna plug in there?
And
I'd leave right what you got. And we'll
We,
just,
I don't have anything.
Oh,
well, we do.
we got them.
They're right, 43,360 for the
okay,
coupons,
there he goes. He's got them.
and then 10,739 for the miscellaneous, and then the recyclables at about 1346.
Okay,
And, those are based on actual, like you said, like things have
Yeah.
gone down on that end, so. So those are the only income items from the transfer station, right? Okay,
okay,
right?
Keep
Moving
going
right
down.
along.
Keep going.
okay. Liquor licenses, tried to calculate how many we're doing now. We've lost a few accounts over the years, so about 700 budgeted there. We're hovering around 40,000 in recording, so I just kind of kept it there. I reduced the vault time and copies just because we're now a little bit on COTS, and I'm not certain what we're going to be doing for revenue. So just to play it safe, I reduced it a little bit.
Did you add, we don't know what we're gonna get in COTS revenue either, but is that not gonna be another line somewhere or?
Probably.
And that would be,
I would have, no, I think we're gonna put it in that same line.
right, because it would be the same research
Same
just done
stuff, yeah.
online, right?
Yep. Just kept miscellaneous at 2. That's for anything random that comes in. I don't have anything under traffic fines. No idea what we're thinking there.
Any idea, chief?
We
Um,
budgeted 15, in 22-23, we've come close to 20.
yeah, 19,800,
Yeah,
22-23 budget.
we had we had 13,000 one year and
I think the COVID years
10,000
they
the
went
other
down.
year. Probably the COVID years.
Yeah. So,
Second constable's been out in force.
yeah, I mean,
I would
We
say
could put 8.
15,000.
Keep it where
15.
everyone's at.
Yeah.
15.
we'll put the 15 in.
Nobody wants to see that increasing the budget, right?
Those with speeders want to see that pay for a new officer.
No.
I know it doesn't work that way.
Can't see who's on the call, but I got numbers from Marcia for the pilot program.
Yep.
She wanted to increase it to 18. That's payment in lieu of taxes. My school's treasurer salary remains at 3. The number for reappraisal maintenance, she also put that as 18.5, she meaning Marcia.
Okay.
Railroad tax stays around 650.
Marcia is on the call if you want to ask her.
Okay. 0 for special election. I hope that stays the same. Current use, again, a Marcia thing, 10,000. And the rest, I don't have filled in on my part for revenue, because nothing we usually, I think Marcia wanted $50 for Lister education. But
We
it
can
comes down to local option tax. Want to do for that.
So, question for Marcia.
Yeah, let's check the listers. Marcia, are you on?
Yeah, I'm right here.
Okay, so a couple of changes that in the pilot program. You recommended 18,000. And then there's the reappraisal maintenance went up a little bit, and then the Lister education. Those are three that we'd like you to speak to, if you would, please.
Okay, the reappraisal maintenance, because we budgeted 18.5 before, it came in at 18,383. I decided to put it back to 18.5 to see what happens. Current use, that obviously is the money that the town loses for current use enrollment. So we did get 12,751 before, so I just kept it at 10,000. Lister education, basically our Lister education is paid for through NIMRIC and through PV&R. However, we've never accounted for the dues that we pay for the 3 listers, which is $50 for the 3 listers.
So do we need to put an amount in there for that for this year, for next year, actually?
For 23, 24, yeah, 24, 25. Yeah, I'd like to put that $50 back in there.
Okay.
So
So the last question, Marcia, is on the pilot program.
Yeah.
We were putting down 10,000 for anticipated income, and now we're looking at 18. Have some new information come to light that makes that?
Well, I'm just looking at what we actually received in the reappraisal fund. We actually received $16,405 this past March, and for the equalization, which is the 16,405 is the $850 per parcel payment. Equalization study, we received 1,930. So putting those two together, I just kind of rounded it up to the 18.
I don't think that's detrimental one way or the other, that amount. So, okay, thanks for the explanation.
Sure.
Okay.
Joe,
Um,
you're
so
saying
I
the
can-
Lister education, is that going to go in the income area or in the expense area?
That actually should be an expense if we're paying that out.
Mhm.
So that needs to go somewhere else. That'll go in the listers. There's a portion of this budget just for the listers, right, Bill?
Yeah.
Yes, there is.
Okay, so we'll need to put that $50 for education there and not in the income side. All right. So now we get down to the $24 question.
So local option tax we could talk about now, or I could just fill you in on the rest of the things.
Well, we're here.
We're here.
Yeah, we're going to come back. We've had 2 good years.
We have, again, it's that whole thing.
That crapshoot.
We could look at 1.3 or keep it at 1.2.
I'm liking the 1.3.
I mean, I think this one especially is a real crystal ball thing. And if we go with, we've done this with the other incomes, looking over the course of the history, and if you guys are comfortable, we can go with a 1.3.
I mean, we'll have another quarter in before we have to finally approve this, but so.
No.
Seems like we're,
We're already heading.
We're already at what we asked for. And we've got one quarter, yeah, we've already made what we asked for in this budget that we're currently in.
Still another quarter.
I think, no,
pretty
we're,
close.
so.
we have 2 more quarters to go in this current year.
Right.
We need 325, I think, 324, 325. It'll definitely come in. I
The
think we're,
problem with
We're on a
that
good track.
1% money is, and it's hard to, it doesn't come in. You have to figure what comes from July 1. Because we get paid in a calendar year and
Which
we're
is what
working
you're
with
talking-
fiscal.
So from July 1 of this year, you're saying we've gotten like what, 800 something already?
We've already got 2, right, Carrie?
We-
Or 1?
we've received 2 quarters.
Okay.
We haven't reached our goal yet, but we will certainly reach our goal the next one, and we still
So
have 2 payments.
When you
left.
say 2 quarters, which, and this maybe is the payments issue, which
It is-
quarters have we done?
Right. It's,
Because it's the last quarter of last year we're getting now, and then
I think we get like the last quarter of our previous fiscal year, but we don't get that until the beginning of this fiscal year, right?
Well, I don't have my, do you?
Well,
do you
well,
guys have
because
that
it-
chart that I
if
gave
you've
And
you?
I don't
already
know what
received
their
2
quarters, I don't know
quarters,
what
that must
the
be.
state's quarters are, what their months are.
Yeah, yeah,
You know, it's not January, February, March.
right.
It's like,
It's different than.
it's
ours.
different.
Okay,
Yes.
so when would the next quarter be done?
When will you get the next payment typically?
I don't have that at the top of my head. It's on your chart.
Not the, you don't know which month? It'll
I
be
think
like in,
It's
when do
after
the
you would
payments come?
approve the
I think it's
budget.
in February or March.
They
that We'll
come,
get the next one.
be like in March, right? It's usually after the ballot items are approved,
Yeah.
I think.
So
The
anyways,
dates are
we're-
on that chart that I gave you,
Yeah,
what
that-
it covers.
So halfway through, we've got 800,
Halfway through, we've got 2/3 of what we asked for.
Mhm.
so
So if we go 130, it's not gonna be the end of the world.
I think
Right.
we, yeah, I mean, I think it's
1,
gonna be
3.
at least.
I'm good with it. We can spend all night anticipating and figuring out, and you're just never gonna get there.
No, the big thing now is the capturing of the online sales. And I think that's where we're seeing such an increase.
Things,
So,
I think as more and more online people get caught up with that, it's gonna get better and better.
you had something, Mary? Go ahead.
I did. I thought Kurt would beat me to it, but I was looking at the last 3 years worth of income. So actual,
Yeah, I looked at it.
actual receipts in 2021 were 1.253. In 2020, 21-22 was 1.5. And just last year is 1.471. So I think 1.3 is fine.
The trend is going up. So, okay. So,
Yeah.
so when Bill gets done with that number,
Just found 215 grand, just like that.
and our anticipated income is 1.7 million. Is what we're looking at, 1.701685. Perfect. I like this instant recognition. Okay.
Oh my.
Onward.
Okay.
Got that
So, Social Security, the rate of Social Security is just based on your salaries, and since your salaries are increasing by 4%,
Yep.
Social Security at 31 this year, or for this budget. Select Board salary reflects the 4%. Town
Just
list.
want you to know that last budget is the only time my 8 years here that I ever saw that budget all spent.
I was gonna say, whoa.
That is the only time in 8 years. We've always been way under.
Okay,
But
and
anyway.
it was my fault
On the select
because I
board side?
submitted a bill for a year and a half, so I blew the budget.
No.
It was me.
No,
Well,
no, no, it's not, I'm not giving you that credit, Mary. That goes somewhere else, but we'll just leave that lie. Okay, go ahead, Carrie.
The town lister line reflects, calculations done for Marcia at 4% and the 2 hourly listers at 4% for their hourly increase. So the calculations come out to that number, which is 86,982.
Perfect. Okay.
My salary for clerk and treasurer up 4%. That's the number that reflects there, as well as Susan's salary 4%, and Bill's salary is 4%. Board of Civil Authority, I have to think about this coming year. So this coming year we'll have, it's funny because it crosses. So we have an August and we have a November, and then we have the town the following March. So there are 3 elections. So I have to think about having my BCA members and ballot clerks. So I made those lines 6,500 and 4,500.
Yeah, because this budget starts July 1st of next year, so that'll
Yeah.
include three elections.
Yeah, it
Okay.
includes that August primary, the November
Yep.
general, and then the town the following year.
Yep, perfect.
I'm up in the air what to do with the office help salary, which is why I haven't filled it in quite yet.
Are you having a hard time filling that position?
Here and there.
Is
Not
it because
sure
it's
exactly
part-time?
What to do.
Is it because it's
No,
part-time?
we did full-time. A lot of things I've got online. I'm really balancing, trying to figure out what to do. If I
You need
want to
help?
offer it part-time.
Do you need help?
Do I need
Do you
help?
need more help? In that?
Some days I do,
Okay.
and some days I don't.
So if we put 20,000 in there or 25, would that cover
You
enough
could
help?
put a number in there to hold the place for now, sure.
You know, I would
Because-
suggest we put 36 in because that's what we had last year.
Yeah,
I
we
don't
didn't
think
use
the
it.
COTS system, I don't think those have saved the need for another person. And if we don't have a reasonable amount in, you're not going to be able to hire anybody. So
Right.
in the past, you've relied on, former town clerks in other towns who wanted to pick up a few hours. This is beyond that now, I think, from what I've seen in there. You need the help and you should budget for it.
I agree with
Deal.
Mary. Right.
I'm okay.
Okay.
36 goes in there.
If we find somebody that wants to do the job, I was disappointed that the person you did hire that you thought was pretty good didn't stay longer. But
You and me both, still a little.
that happens. Sometimes when you get qualified people, they find different employment of whatever type they want or something. Okay.
It kind of goes into, these next lines are not really me.
Okay.
So I don't know how you want to handle this.
So we have the health officer consultants, health officer supplies, and then you get into constables. JP, are you on?
I am.
Okay.
Good
Do you want to? Yep. Thank you. So the numbers you have in here for health officer has 2,000. That's down a little from last year.
Yes, it is.
Have you seen the numbers that are in here for you?
Those are my numbers, Joe.
Okay, and there anything that you want different, or are you good?
The only thing I wanted to point out was we agreed to get the vehicle reimbursement up to the FEMA rate in 2 steps. So this year would be
Yep.
the second step, and that FEMA rate for 2023 is 1989.
Okay, and that
And-
constitutes the 9,500, and then we put the 9,500 again for this year?
Yes, that I think that's going to track pretty accurately, as well as my time. And then the other item that's new, Joe, and the rest of the board is that equipment item. My vest is more than a year out of date. I need to replace that. And
Okay.
I'm having some issues with my light bar. I just want to have the money. I've done some temporary repairs and it's working, but I need to have that reserve in case it goes. So that would explain the $2,500 there. The vest goes anywhere from 900 to 1,200.
Okay. All right. I think that's all good. That's reflects your costs that you need. So we're okay with that. Kurt,
I was just wondering, they're all in a weird order this year, it seems.
well,
I
You'll
know.
have
I
it.
don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how that happened, but it does seem to be jumping around a little bit.
well, the
I
numbers
think
are,
that's a Bill question.
the numbers are in sequence, which is good. And that may be why
Yeah,
we went with a sequence of numbers and not everything quite so.
that's different.
Okay, so next would be the first constable salaries. Do we have a Mike Delahanty up there?
Yes, sir.
All right, Michael, good evening.
Good evening.
All
So,
right, yes, sir, go ahead.
so the reason you see the reduction down to the $8,000 is because obviously a large portion of my hours are spent on the south end. So obviously that comes out of a different fund. So the way when I did the math, I'll probably project to come in just under that 15,000 for the year, but more than half of that will be from that Cortina fund. And I don't see that changing obviously into the next fiscal year, the 24-25 year. So that's why I chose to drop the salary line item down to the 8, because that's probably where I'll be. And then the rest of the money will come out of that other fund.
Question on that then, Chief,
Yes.
is that included? No warning. So the constable's time at the south end, is that included in that 55,000 for direct patrol that was in the police budget?
Yeah, see. Yeah. Probably.
That's a table.
We're tabling.
We
That's a
tabled
table-
it.
that's a table
That's
question.
probably shouldn't be, but you're gonna get that. That's a very complex thing when you're doing
I just want to make
two
sure
funds and trying to cover. Yes,
if
okay.
Mike's taking it out of his, I just want to make sure we're not, that it's accounted for. And I guess that's another layer of question is, should we be
You're
showing
making notes.
some of that money going into the general budget in addition to police? Because we don't have the constables on the police budget.
No, so. I don't know. I think I want to be part of that when you have that meeting. I think I want to be part of that meeting. Huh?
Just for instance, tonight, Mike took a complaint at the 14 about an animal complaint that came in earlier today.
Right,
I don't know how much time you spent on it, but.
right. So those would be theoretically paid for out of the money that we have from them. We just got to figure out how to make it
You gotta figure out how to reflect it. on
reflect it here.
Well, do you reflect it? Because at that point, is he constable or is he a special officer?
So one of the hard parts with the Cortina money, if we, and I don't want to go very far with this, but if you have this non-taxpayer money that we are spending, it's hard to infuse that into the police budget without a specific line that shows that income. And I think that's gonna, if you want to track it as part of the police budget, then we're gonna have to show on the police's income a certain amount, 50 grand, 100 grand, whatever you want to put in there for for that, and then show those expenses out of the police budget, but show an offsetting income that is not tax dollars. I think that may be the end to this. That may work.
That's the issue. Yep.
Okay, but so I'm okay, and I think we're all okay, Mike, with you asking for 8 grand for your pay from taxes, and then we're gonna try to iron out the other part. So go
Okay.
ahead with the rest of your.
Yeah, so the equipment line, I can drop that down actually to 1,000. I like to keep it in there just in case, because we all know if something happens, nothing's cheap. But I have, knock on wood, I have everything that I need when it comes to equipment as of today. So I should probably
We're
be
not
good
gonna
there.
nickel and dime.
Okay.
I don't think we're gonna nickel and dime that far. We're good.
Okay. The 200 is the same. Then obviously the vehicle, the reason it's just under half of what it was, and that for the same reasons for the Cortina fund.
Okay, perfect. I think we're good. Those are your 4 contributions to this budget, and they look All right. Very good. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
All right. Yep. So we're back to you, Carrie. Postage.
So, I don't think that we are going to spend our dime to send anything out in the elections, but just in case, I kept it at 6,000. Postage is creeping up there anyway. Town report, I think Bill put this number in. He probably has a reason for that number. Yes, Bill? No, Bill?
Yeah, so the 6,000 is what we're gonna pay this year. That's what we are probably going, because our contract is up. This is the last year for our contract with the same vendor, but we've been with them for a while. But that's roughly what the increase was the last time we did this, so it's just anticipating the cost going up for the next time we sign a contract.
Perfect.
Hey, Bill. None of us, I think, are actually looking at the numbers on the screen. It might be more helpful if we could actually see who was on the call instead.
Okay.
Unless we have to refer to something. Nobody? Everyone else gone?
Everybody else ditched us.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Oh, they're there.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, town hall supplies left at 5,500. Recording supplies, I still need to continue my land record books. So I put it at 3,000. I could increase it and keep it at 4. But I'm safe with 3,000. I did get us caught up on microfilming, which is why I spent 2,400 in 22-23. I just tend to, any book that gets finished, I ask them to come and back it up with the microfilm. So I increased that to 1,000. Election supplies, again, we have 3 elections. The reason why we went over in the 22-23 is the special election. So I left it at 4.
That'll cover
I
your
don't
3.
really see us needing to spend any money, really, too much money on our elections, like supplies and such like that. Street lights, that would be Green Mountain Power. So we know that that's increasing a little bit. So 14.5 there. And then the next few lines are Dell.
Okay, from line 035190 to 35195, everything's the same. 035196 is a drastic jump right here. It's gone to $47,435. The reason for that, compactors that I send away, they usually hold about average of 12 ton. Okay, at $130 a ton, it went up $5 a ton. It's $1,560. To pick up, it's 1,700. It brings it to $1,730 times 20 compactors, brought that up to 34,600. The C and D, they average 4.5 ton times 130 a ton, came to 585. Pickup is 170. 17 C and Ds brings that to $12,835. A grand total of $47,435. It's nothing I can do about that. You guys were looking for the income.
Do you want that number that meticulous?
Pardon?
Do you want it that meticulous, or would you like to have 47,500 or maybe 48,000 in there just to cover your butt?
Whatever.
Yeah, I think we should go like 48.
48
in that line.
48 now.
Yeah. We don't have
By
to
the
be quite
number.
this meticulous, just.
Okay.
Yep.
The next one that went up was next line down, 97. Last year I budgeted 4,000. Because of the, I was gonna run into a deficit. So I had 6,000, if you remember, Kurt, and I just stopped spending.
Yeah.
I stopped spending the money. I actually only spent $1,574. So I did no maintenance at all on the building. So this year I got 4,000. I've started it. So next year I brought it up another 1,000 to 5,000.
Sounds good.
Okay, in the transfer station, manager is down 17, is down a little bit.
Supposed to get an increase in pay, not a deduction.
Pardon?
I said you're supposed to get a 4% increase. not
I
a de-
did.
I know, but it went down, but anyway.
I went, because that number here was a little high last year.
How can it be high?
I mean, how can it be high?
Well, isn't the
it's a-
pay based on a rate per hour and a number of hours?
That's right.
And it gives you a figure, and then if it goes up 4%, the figure should be up, not down. I mean, that's the way the math works in most instances.
That, this budget, we
4%
broke the
rate.
two out. We broke the two out, so there's now the manager and attendant line.
I
But
see
Bill-
that. and-
Bill Bauer is retiring, so the new person is coming in at a lower rate. So if you look at the manager
Right.
total for this year and the attendant total for this year, they don't equal what it was last year, but it's because we're paying someone less. But Dell is, rest assured, we did give Dell his 4%, but the 28,831 was the combination of Larry and Bill. This time they're broken out and each reflected independently.
Okay, they were in the current budget, which is the 22, 23 or 24 budget. Dell's salary is at 18,444 and Bill's is 13,505. So if you multiply 18,444 by 4%, it doesn't become 17,000.
Then you gotta convince Dell to take more money.
Yeah.
Different numbers.
It should go the other way.
Well, I have
He has
19,181.
different numbers over here.
No.
Say that,
You do.
Mary.
Yeah, I had, if you increase 18,444 by 4%, the new number is 19,181. And that's what
And I think
That makes no sense.
Yeah.
No wonder you didn't do good in math.
I did.
fine
Wait
with
1 second.
math. Okay. I did have a question though, for Dell, back up under waste removal. And
Yeah.
that is, he came up with the exact number for what hauling costs were this past, year. But projecting forward, is 48,000 enough? Because we're talking about a year that starts, 8 or 9 months from now and finishes.
That's right. And these are the new prices I just got for them. That's supposed to start next July.
Okay, that's what I needed to know.
Yeah. Those are supposed to start next July.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so did we get your salary taken care of properly now?
I think he has different numbers than what we're looking at.
Okay,
The ones that we're looking at, it seems like that's the.
because the 18,444 was what he's in for this year.
Did you
current year.
have,
So-
did you have a different draft over here?
Okay.
See anything else that's drastically different that he needs to know about?
It's
At
okay,
some
we'll get
point,
y'all
you got to
some.
quit arguing the fact that you want less money.
Yeah, Dell.
It doesn't make it
Money,
work.
you
Okay.
give it all of us.
Yeah,
We
and
didn't
there's
catch
the
any.
very practical, the practical thing is if we should lose Larry, which we don't want to have happen, we would have to replace him and we would have to have enough money to replace him with, so.
Your
Anyway.
point, Larry, there isn't enough money to replace me.
Okay,
That's right.
the next
That's
one's
right, Joe.
recycling.
Yeah.
We
We good with the salaries now
11,500
for recycling? Yep.
because they spent 900 and $9,874 the year before. So, if recycling turns around and I start getting a little bit of money, I'll be okay.
We'll see what happens. It's a crapshoot.
And the last one is SWAC, that went up. They went up, so. 19,900.
Okay, mine wasn't filled
Yeah.
in. Was yours?
So what happens with the SWAC thing there? It's done by population.
Yeah.
In these smaller towns, they vote stuff in. It costs them $300-400, where it costs me $800.
Right.
So,
It's whatever, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, okay. Perfect. You all good now?
I'm good, except on the pay there.
Yeah, I think you're gonna lose that battle. So, okay, Carrie, we are to town hall electricity.
Let's see. I think if we keep it at 7 grand, we should be okay. I did this. I think, Bill, you pre-filled some of these in, right? So for
Yes, I
fuel
did.
oil,
Yep.
yeah, you did the electricity and the fuel oil and the internet. Do you want to talk about those?
Yep. So that's just looking ahead at kind of where we've been going and the agreement that we have in place. The internet expense is a little artificially low because when we changed over, they suspended our bill to ensure that we had it done correctly with credits and things. So we artificially underpaid for a little while. We have since made up for that, but that reflects what our true expense will be going forward. So that does also account for phone lines here for the police department. So that may be a discussion we want to have because how we want to pay for those phone lines and going forward. But that includes all of that. So that's just what the accurate anticipation is going to be.
Yeah, I think that this, with the public safety building coming online next fall, we are going to have a year of learning. And I don't know how we would project to pay for that. The
No.
fire budget will cover most of the fuel and electricity and some of the phone service.
Bill, on the phones, I mean, is that just a pay per seat deal, or is there any reason why we would have to break that out on a separate contract?
The phone and the internet is now one provider. In years past, we've had multiple providers for the service. It's now all under one.
So the 8,500 bill, does that cover phone and internet service for all departments in the town? Or
No,
just
that
town?
covers town hall.
$750 an hour.
And everybody else is paying a little bit in their own budget.
624 hours.
Theoretically.
Yes.
Okay.
The police,
All right, well, it's-
the police,
I think those numbers are gonna just kind of be what they are, and I think, again, it's the best case reflection that we can do.
Mhm.
So the building maintenance, that's kind of anticipating remodeling, planning, and maybe some preliminary work and the possibility of some of the work that we talked about with the charging stations and the potential grant and some funds coming in to cover the electrical. So this will
Yes.
kind of cover that.
I
and
have a
our
meeting
share.
with Ed Clark in the morning that we talked about last week. I'm talking to him in the morning about that project. So.
Okay, so I think that's a good number. We should just stick with that because the town hall renovations need to continue forward.
Mhm. So cemetery maintenance. So this is,
Yep.
there is an optional thing in here. We've talked about, we want to at some point put the fence in. As part of that, we probably should find out where the boundary of, we'll call them residents are. And the only way really to do that is with a ground penetrating radar survey. And the best price that I can get is $5,000. I'm not happy with it, but it's the best price I can get. So if we want to do that next year, that's what it would cost to do it.
Yeah, that'll be the preliminary step to locate any graves that aren't marked. And then we can work on the actual boundary lines to put the fence up, which would be a following price later on.
Correct.
Wouldn't we be going over to the property line anyways? Or
Well, there might be some.
There might be some that are on somebody else's.
That's right. The
Oh, but
property
that-
line and where they ended may not be the same place. So
Yeah.
there's only one way to find out.
So if that's the answer, does that mean you don't build a fence, or does that mean we're getting an easement?
That means
We'll cross
we would-
that bridge when we get there. We gotta,
Yeah.
yeah, you know that saying, you gotta find where the bodies are buried first.
Mostly you don't pull out the postal digger.
Maybe you'll find some other things. in
You,
there.
you do not want to be,
Don't
pulling
pull
up.
out the postal digger in that area.
you gotta be very careful with, building the fence. So I think that's an expense. This has been like an ongoing thing. We've reclaimed a lot of this cemetery next door. And that's the one we're working on. And this was, recommended a number of years ago, and we're finally getting to this point. By, I believe, state statute, cemeteries are supposed to be fenced in, if I recall.
Yeah.
That's correct.
There's,
They
yeah.
are, yes.
so we're trying to slowly get our way there. I don't know if they're trying to keep people from getting in or getting out, but they gotta be fenced.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that's all about. But
Right,
yeah.
so, okay,
It doesn't seem to be stopping any of the vandals.
well, it might help some with the vandalism too, keep them, they
We
have to
have
climb
been-
the fence.
We have been very fortunate. So.
Yeah.
And we also have someone that's comes to work on cleaning the stones. And so there is that $1,000 goes toward the maintenance there. So we do have a person that has been volunteering their time to come and clean the stones next door, and they look really, really good, the ones that are done.
All right. So now we're down to professional services. What does, who do we hire? Is this for like consultants or somebody that
It's
we
our
need?
attorney.
Huh?
This is the town attorney primarily, isn't it?
No, there's a line item for
That's the
him.
next one.
That's the next one.
Oh, yeah, okay.
He's
that
got
looks more
it. He's
appropriate.
got his
He's got his own line.
He's got his own line.
I
never
do believe,
remember what this is for, and it might change from year to year. What do we, Carrie, what do we
Carrie-
use to this?
I want to say this is, your Otter Creek Engineering, maybe?
We use it for Otter
Wouldn't
Creek for like
and-
some one-offs, but right now it's Teresa Mealy's being paid out of that.
Okay,
okay. So our bond counsel for the proposed bond for the public safety building, are they being paid out of the funds that we have for the building, or would they be
Yeah.
paid out of professional services?
That I don't
would
know.
s-
We haven't paid them before, or
I would say it
Info.
would come from money for the
The
building,
building?
public safety building.
Okay. All right.
Joey,
So do we need
Joe-
to continue? So we're
Joey-
gonna need a figure in here if this is a continuing,
Yeah,
I think so, yeah.
Sharon has a question.
yeah, because that's how our HR person is being paid for, right?
Yeah, they're,
And,
I mean,
paid out
Kirk can
60.
probably give us the history
We
here.
paid out 60 grand one year.
Again, I think that's Otter Creek, that Otter Creek Engineering. I had to answer this question for the
I was
audit.
I was looking to see if there's someplace else where we might be looking for,
What were they engineering?
Do you have a couple of years there, Kirk?
Anything highway related would be in the highway budget.
JP Sidewalk.
looking to see if there's any other
Possible, yep.
places where we take out for Otter Creek.
hey, Joe,
Yep, go ahead.
I'm gonna have to get off, Joey.
Okay,
All right, I stood it as long as I can, but I have to go lay down.
okay,
All
very
right.
good. Thank you, Sharon.
Have a
Yep,
good night,
bye-bye.
Sharon.
Yeah.
good night.
Yep. All right, I don't see any place for like Otter Creek's work.
Mhm.
Like we've paid for them out of the highway budget for the engineering services they're doing for highway.
Box culverts and whatnot, but. I think
So
what we
a lot of
paid-
times those expenses get billed out of like culverts, and then we get for a grant, and then the grant goes to reimburse the line, so there's no real actual expense out of the line.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
for things like, if we do, when we do like the North Grove Street project, that would probably come out of there, or engineering services, something like that. But yeah, that's where we just kind of use it for that consultant that we need to hire for
All right.
something.
Let's just put the 18,000 in there like we've done for the last several years, and we spent a little more than that last year.
Yeah,
So
it's consistently been 18,000.
Yeah.
In both budget and actual.
No, actual's all over the board.
Over sometimes, right?
Oh, quite a bit. Like
Yeah.
1 year was 60 grand.
And I don't know what that was. What year was that?
Oh, where was I just looking at it? 60,003. That was 21.2. It was 60,389.
Okay, so that presumably that's an anomaly, but what are some of the other?
Yeah, and I don't remember what went on that year. There's somebody we had to hire specifically for
Yeah,
something.
the other one's that's 2020, 2021 was 16.5.
Okay, so we'll leave that number there. We are at
We seem to use it.
professional. We seem to be using it, so that.
It hasn't been a deadline in a while.
5210, so we're at 5211. The attorney monies, general.
Yeah, I kind of raised this with Kevin. And
Yep.
his hourly rate did go up, but frankly, some of the things that we had pending in the past have come off our radar screen. Negotiations with the Cortina, for example. Well, we still have one or two smallish things, but some of which are covered by the League of Cities and Towns. So I think 40,000 is probably adequate.
Okay, I'm good.
See, we had 13,000 1 year and 20,000 another year.
I mean, is 40 too high, Mary? Because that was in the midst of
much-
hotel litigation.
How much legal headache do we plan on
Seems
getting?
like-
Well, it
So, I
was,
mean,
it
it's
was
like-
also the railroad lawsuit that was part of that.
Mhm. So,
And previous years was probably, the termination of our town administrative assistant.
Maybe 40, maybe we get away with 30.
Yeah, 30. Yeah, I mean, there's 20,730
since I've been here,
there,
it's not.
13,000 there.
Since I've been here, he's been pretty active, but maybe it's.
You came at a good time.
Could be starting to cool down now. I don't know.
Well, we've got an agreement in place for at least a couple of years with Cortina.
Yeah, we're
Which
also
we should
calling on him
renegotiate.
quite a bit for the personnel manual redo. We not
Yeah.
only use Teresa, but she has some very specific questions that we need to run by Kevin, and we have.
So we've got 40 in the current budget, which will get us through till June of next year. I'm just anticipating after that if we would need 40 again, but
Would we be safe at 30?
I'd be okay with 30.
It's 10
You
grand.
tell me
now.
who's gonna sue us, and
Well, well, we'll have to make sure we don't stir as many pots.
Did he offer an opinion on this, Mary, or because it's, I mean, we
No.
obviously have no idea.
he said basically the same thing. Tell me how many lawsuits,
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's a crapshoot. So we'll go 30 and be happy. If
Yeah.
we
Split
come
the
out short,
difference, 35.
then we'll hope that Carrie gets more money for interest and we collect more delinquent taxes to offset it. I mean, that's all you can do. They're
And and some extra 1%.
So the attorneys for tax appeals, looks like some years we put 1,000 in and we don't spend any, so I think 1,000 is a fair price. Municipal retirement, I don't think we have any say in that.
That is Lemurs,
Yep.
and it is based on the salaries.
The number of employees and
No, it's a set rate that the town pays.
is that paid in per employee or per town?
No,
Just-
it's in per employee.
It's the town's portion of the.
Uh-huh.
Okay, all right, just so I understand that a little
Yeah.
bit. All right, so that number is just generated on income, payouts and whatever. Stormwater.
Stormwater.
Bill, do you have any,
Yes,
input
yes,
on stormwater?
I sure do. I just heard back from Andres. his anticipated total expenses this year are $92,000. However, 84,000 of which should be covered by our grant, which is huge.
Terrific.
So we are responsible for about 25% of that. So his work not anticipated to be covered by the grant is $8,000. So I'm thinking like 30,000 should be safe, is probably the minimum number, but we certainly can come down from what we have in the years past.
Looks like we budgeted 1 year for 60, we spent 37. This year we've budgeted 82 because we knew there was going to be some anticipated work. I'm thinking that if we budget 35 there, we should be good.
That's kind of my thought.
Yeah, that's a good
If we
number.
have a grant. If we have a grant, then that should
And
keep us.
largely, this is gonna go toward the matching funds.
Yeah.
Right, that'll be our contribution toward the grants.
Yep.
Okay.
His hand is up.
Clerk, treasurer, training.
Hold on.
Oh, Mary, go ahead, sorry.
No, I'm not gonna use the hand. Okay, so in other places, we show as income, grant income, but we're not doing it here. Should we consider doing that? Or
On the
rather
in- on
than
the
netting it? I
anticipated-
mean, we haven't done it before and perhaps we should.
Yeah. That would be on the beginning page that we
Yep.
didn't show any grant income.
We may want,
Especially since, we might just show that anticipated income for grants on the first page we did.
Probably helps because going forward, if your typical expense line is higher, then you're not gonna, in the next year, have this giant increase. It will be more consistent with.
Well, it's the
what-
same thing as we're talking about the police. If we're going to spend 84,000 in
Right.
grant money, we should show the 84,000 coming in somewhere. So we could add that to the beginning. Or
So we don't
anticipated
have a
grant.
grant income line in the general budget.
right,
No.
but
But
that
we
doesn't
will
mean we
have-
couldn't put one in.
Absolutely.
Yep. I think that's a good idea because I think when you're doing accounting, it's always good to show where it came from and where it went. Because if you show the where it went, but you don't show the where it came from, somebody's going to say, huh? Or, you get away sometimes if you show it coming in, but don't spend it. But if you spend it and you don't know where it came from, so we'll have to add a grant line to our anticipated
Okay,
income.
no problem. What would you like to include for a figure?
So what was the figure you gave us? 84?
84,000 is his anticipated money to be covered, anticipated cost to be covered by the grant.
Okay, so I would just put grant income because there could be other grants that we get.
Yep.
Right.
But I would put 84 and then under stormwater, I would put the whole amount.
You put the whole 84,
No, I put the whole 92.
92.
Oh, I see. No, that makes sense. No, that makes sense because it's the difference between the two. Yep.
It'll net out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Unless you want to put something
Doesn't
more.
leave, that doesn't leave us any other money. So if under stormwater, we only put 92, it doesn't leave us any money for anything else that might come up.
Right, so you might want to add something to that.
That might want to be 100,000. If you're going to take in 84, you might want to have a 6,000 or 8,000 in there that shows in something that just
Yeah.
jumps out and bites you that you didn't anticipate, that we needed Andres to do. So if we're going to show an 84 income, we can show
Was
100,000.
that what the 8,000 already was in there for, or? is
No,
that
that's
something else?
that's separate. So he had $92,000 total, 84 to be covered by a grant and a separate 3 projects for $8,000, not included as grant work. So the $8,000 that we can't get reimbursed and $84,000 that will apply for reimbursement.
Then some of that
There, we will, as we send it in, they give us back what we qualify for. So I'm not sure if they're gonna do it, if they're gonna front load the reimbursement. So like we put in 84,000, we get back 84,000, or we get back the percentage that we have to match.
So I'd put 100 in there.
Okay.
That gives us 18,000 to 8 for the match and 10 for unexpected stormwater, something that might be just to be there.
Okay, but I thought the match was supposed to be a quarter of the 84.
Is it quarter of 84, Bill?
So the total grant is 200,000. We have a $50,000 match of that 200,000. So we're matching 25%.
Really confused.
So the grant total is $200,000. This year, he anticipates spending that figure out of it. And I just, so 84,000 of our $200,000 he anticipates spending this year. So of that $200,000, we have to match 50,000. So I don't know, because typically when we do grants, we do them all of them. We do the whole thing. We don't do it in pieces over the year. So so if we ask for 84,000, we may be responsible for 21,000 of that.
Will be.
So the anticipated income is really the net of 84 minus what we would have to pay.
It's possible we get the whole 84. I don't know.
Okay. We just want to make sure we have enough in there to cover the stormwater, because it's showing stormwater projects.
So that kind of raises something else that isn't here, and that's the big grant that we just got for JP's sidewalk. And our expenses toward it.
So
Yeah.
that's our match requirement for that is up to $156,000. But we have till December 31st of 2029 to apply for those grant reimbursement. And I still haven't heard from anybody at the state about moving on that project yet.
And historically, the sidewalk grants and that stuff has gone into highway. That's where we've shown.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh.
there's nothing in there though.
What's
in the
that?
highway.
I don't think that project's not even good.
Yeah, once that project
Start.
comes to light, we can budget for it, but I don't think we can budget for it this far out, because we don't know even when that's gonna start.
No, it's definitely not gonna start in this budget year.
So,
No, well, except for land acquisition and easement acquisition. That probably would hit.
That is possible.
Maybe. Yeah.
well, I don't know. We'd have to go back to somewhere to put that in. I don't know if you'd want that in the general, but for the stormwater for now, for this question is how much do we show here? The amount is 84,000 is what we're anticipating in grant monies. And if we anticipate a 25% match, we'll need 21,000, which makes us 105. If that's what we're going to spend in this fiscal year. I don't think we're going to do the whole 200,000 in 1 year. That's not
No,
anticipated, is it, Bill?
It is not.
Okay. So I think we should put in the 84 plus a 25% match and go with a 105. And we'll offset 84 of that with the income line of 84,000 for anticipated grant.
Okay.
How's that sound?
That should work. That's what I've got.
Okay. Everybody think that's okay? I don't hear any counter. All right. Carrie, clerk, treasurer, training.
Actually, you know what? Before we get there,
Okay.
I think professional services is our audit too. And we're gonna have a single audit in this year. That's when we're gonna get billed.
Would we use
So we
the
need
same
to increase
auditor
that
or
line.
would we be using a different auditor for that?
It is a portion, it's a division of the same auditor, just not the same auditors.
Okay, so,
So they quoted us, and I'm pretty sure this is where we put our audit in this line. They said, roughly another 15 grand, 10 to 15 grand for,
all those big dollars we got.
for
Yeah.
the, yeah.
So that would make that 33.
I would figure high on that one because he was just kind of roughing it at the,
So
What
we'll
if we
put
put it at 35?
35,000 for
Yeah.
professional services, anticipating the one-time audit for the federal grants.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm glad I thought of that.
Yeah, I'm glad you
Oh,
did too.
wait, but
Um,
so is that enough? Because we've got sometimes Otter Creek coming out of it. We've got Teresa Mealy coming out of it. We've got our regular audit coming out of it, and we've got the one-time audit coming out of it. Is
I'm wondering
35
if you
enough?
go up a
That
little
gave
bit.
us 17,000.
The regular audit is,
But we've always paid that out of the 18.
yeah.
Yeah.
And we only
We
spent,
Still have Teresa to
with
think
Teresa,
about
we spent 18,450.
when we didn't have
This actual.
Teresa.
How
Yeah,
much
that's
was
the-
the?
But the audit's every year.
Audits every year.
So we've paid that out of the 18,450. We've paid Teresa some out of that. She's getting an additional, what was the additional amount? 1,000, 1,500?
Yeah.
1,500.
It was less than what we paid her initially, so
Yeah.
that should be less coming out of there. I'm not sure what Otter Creek, we've already paid Otter Creek for the design work on Grove Street out of the engineering service monies that we have out of highway, so I don't know what else they would be
By the way,
doing.
I mean, we're talking about after July 1, 2020.
we could still
Hopefully
gonna
we'll
be
be done
paying
with Teresa. by then.
Teresa, yeah, that's why we could still gonna be paying Teresa in
With
July.
any luck at all. we'll be done.
Next year?
Yeah.
I hope not, but we don't know.
I don't know.
So there's money to cover a couple of thousand for her. What's a normal audit cost? Roughly
15.
1,000. So we
15
got,
to- Actually 15 to 18, I'm assuming, yeah.
and we just added 17 on top of that. So we still got 2,000 or 3,000 wiggle room there for the 35. That should cover everything.
And obviously,
Because when is this audit going to take place? After July 1st next year?
It's gonna be in this budget. Andrew and I talked about it. It's gonna be in this budget that we're doing right now tonight,
All right.
that we're going to.
So it'll be after
have to
July
pay,
1st.
Yeah.
if there's unforeseens, there's unforeseens, I guess. We've done it in plenty of other budgets.
I think 35 is good.
Okay.
We'll stick with that.
And then, going back down to clerk training,
Yep.
my version didn't have anything in the box. Do you have something in the box?
No, that's why it
I'm
asked.
thinking- Yeah, I'm thinking just 1,000.
1,000?
Yeah,
Okay.
and the mileage 500.
Mileage,
That. if I use
okay.
that.
Carrie, if you
select
hire,
board.
you decide to hire someone, wouldn't you be sending that person to training as well?
If they offer training, yeah.
Okay.
But VLCT, that like the beginner stuff, that's never, you don't have to pay for that.
Okay.
So there is training, only time you have to pay if it's something really special.
Something
No,
special.
no normal stuff is covered,
Like
okay.
what I just got. Before I keep going, we need to put in here somewhere subscription for Record Hub monthly for
I have
cops.
that under software.
You did?
Yep,
Yeah, we haven't got there yet, have we, Bill?
not yet.
Okay.
Okay.
We
I
got
didn't
2
know
more
if you
pages to
saw my
go.
notes there, Bill.
Yeah, there's a few new items under that, but yes, I do have that on the list.
Okay, as long as that's all right.
All right.
I didn't put anything past the mileage, so
All right.
select board mileage.
So historically, we put 250 for select board mileage.
What do we pay a mile?
62 and a.
We pay the federal rate.
Yeah.
Which is,
Which is,
I think it's like
Right now, I
62 and a
believe
half.
it's 62 and a half.
yeah,
we could drive 400 miles.
65 and a half cents a mile.
They get used at all.
So, yeah. I
Well, in
think
some
the
years,
only time I did it one year was when we had the settlement conference on Center Rutland and I went up to Kevin's office in Middlebury.
Yeah.
I think
It's
charged
for-
mileage.
yeah. It's for those unusual times that we're,
Let's throw $100 at it. I mean, that's 400 miles.
okay.
250 is 400 miles. That seems like a lot of driving for us.
The most, that must be the year we spent $47, Mary.
Probably.
All right, so we'll put 100. Listers oh man, that was listers mileage, not even select board mileage.
Yeah, they probably drive around way more than we do.
So what are we gonna put in for the listers?
Oh,
Any number, jump out at us. We've been putting 250.
Unless they're,
47 we spent last year.
so we're gonna actually be driving around for a reappraisal,
Yeah.
maybe they'd be driving a lot, but they're not like to be doing that.
At 150.
Put 150.
Sure.
Okay. That's not a big deal.
None of
really.
these are gonna make any difference.
Second constable mileage, looks like we didn't fund it because I do believe that mileage is back at the beginning somewhere. Oh, where did I see that? Second constable.
Just
Oh,
like
the
it's
mileage.
ghost lines.
I think that just got incorporated in with the vehicle.
I do believe,
So if anything shows up on these, that's where you're embezzling. then, right?
yeah, I
When
think
you
we're
put it
okay
on
there
the
because that, we didn't
old
fund it
line.
last year.
Yeah, it's just under his vehicle.
It's part of the vehicle. All right. Others mileage. I'm not sure, that must be for something. We can put 100 in there. Town administrator mileage. How much you want to travel, Bill?
Well, it seems to be getting more, so that's why I put 400, because it's gone up and down, but it's been going up, so like sometimes delivering packets before a
Very
meeting, so
good.
things like that. So yeah,
Right.
I think that's an accurate number.
Health officer mileage. That wasn't in anywhere else. Well, that was, what do we have? 200 last year. No, JP's gone. Do we want to fund that for a couple of hundred?
Yeah, I mean, he
didn't see
gets
any
the
budget.
occasional go look at a vacant building or there's trash on a lot call, so I think that's fine.
Yeah.
Toss $100 at it.
Put 100 there. The general,
Not that far around town.
general insurance, he might be taking that out of the other expenses too.
Yeah.
I guess the 148, that's just calculated from all
So
the fun and games.
That's our VLCT policy, but that also includes our workers' comp rate, which is up a lot this year because goes off our anticipated payroll. So,
Right.
and the calculation with claims, we've had several claims, so that's what that's
Okay.
probably a
Those
pretty
are
accurate
numbers
number.
you got, Bill, to plug in, right?
Yes.
Pretty much. Yeah. The health insurance is at 110. New equipment, that's for the town offices here, about 10 grand.
Yep.
7,000 for the equipment repair, maintenance of the copiers.
So that's what's equipment repair, maintenance, and copiers. This July is when our current copier contract is up. So we will have a new contract, and that is the anticipated change in the rate. We all get new machines, so that's the anticipated change in that agreement.
Has that new system that we adopted in this type, is this working out okay for everybody?
These new copiers
Yeah, and stuff.
are
Yeah.
wonderful. Yeah, they're so much better. Yep.
All right. Advertising, I'm not sure. What do we advertise?
That is pretty much me and Bill.
Warnings
Anytime
Yeah.
there's tax bills.
Anything that has to go in
needs
the Herald?
Into the Herald.
gotta put it- okay.
Yeah, and that includes like stuff that you guys put in, like
Ordinance notices and subdivision notices and all that stuff. Yep.
Okay. Okay. All right. We're down to the planning commission. Barbara, are you on?
I'm on. I am still
Very good.
here.
Yep.
Yeah, so, yes,
Yep, you go ahead. The next few items here are down 5 or 6 are planning commission related.
they are. So no changes for most of them. 35,261 legal. We've spent quite a bit so far this year, but that we believe that to be a little unusual and not typical for most years. So we'll keep that at 2,000. 262 is for the regional commission dues and maybe for the commissioner that goes, but we kept that at 2,000. Planning commission salaries, that reflects the 4% raise. Miscellaneous, that's $500. Advertising, we just talked about that for notices and such. We kept that at 2,000. And if we could skip down two numbers, we have had 500 for consulting fees. And I'd like to put that, I think that's missing right now. I can't see the numbers that you're looking
There,
at.
there is 500 in there, Barb.
Yep, we have it there.
Okay, okay, excellent.
Is that enough for consulting?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so that gets us through the planning commission's portion.
Just a suggestion
Um,
to make life easier in the future, where it says consulting fees, put dash planning commission. So we don't wonder who's consulting. I know it's grouped in with them, but it could also be consulting for the pound keeper who is right below.
Okay. Just some clarification. All right, so now
been
we're
added.
down to the pound keeper. And we've been allocating $300 for anticipated expenses.
Have we ever spent money?
No.
So far, no. It's just one of those things we have a little in there in case something.
But
I
we-
believe Paul is the pound keeper.
Yeah, but we got Humane Society.
Yeah. I don't know. They probably won't break us, but we can leave it in there. I don't recall any, one year we haven't I don't see any years where we spent any money out of it.
You want to just put 100 just in case?
You want 100?
Maybe, Sure.
Okay.
I mean, these two town reports, there hasn't been anything
Yeah,
either.
there's nothing.
So the bank interest, I'm assuming that's us paying interest back from the old days when we borrowed money.
Probably that we
And
haven't.
we don't do that. So at some point that will be able to come off from the, once you don't use them for 3 or 4 years, those will leave. VLCT dues, I guess they tell us how much that is and we send it.
Yes, they do.
Yes, they do.
Sure.
All right, so there we are. And I do believe we're down to the final page. Miscellaneous expenses. What do we cover with that, Bill?
Miscellaneous.
Miscellaneous, just about anything?
I
It-
put
it-
4 in there again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Really, it does kind
I
of vary, but
I
That's the
think we
candy
made
budget,
a
must be.
donation to the carving studio for the bench. I think that was one.
yes,
I
that
think
is,
Out of and
it
we
is.
might
when we
have
send
used
out
this- Yeah,
fruit baskets and
Flowers.
things like that, Mary?
yeah.
That's
yeah.
correct.
All right.
We spent 2,900 one year,
Yep.
51.
Yep.
What is it? 5,700 another year.
So
Exactly.
four is a good
It's
number.
if the board decides to make a donation or like you said, the fruit baskets, it's those kind of things that just don't go anywhere else. It's just the true miscellaneous expense.
Okay, perfect.
Stick with the 4.
4 is good. Computer services, you generate this number, William?
Yes, that's our IT vendor. And some years we go up, some years down. We've been getting better. I mean, we probably could go to 4,000 if you want to decrease it, but that's been a pretty consistent number and it's been reliable.
All right, let's do the 4. Makes us look financially responsible. And then we'll spend 5,200 and somebody say, how come we lowered that? But I'd argument would be 45 wouldn't have been enough either. So, I guess the 4th of July celebration, we can change that to just fireworks. Right?
Okay,
Now we're going to be doing fireworks, but we're not doing them at 4th of July, but that's the
that's correct.
current new figure. Okay.
Well, Bill, there was some discussion like prior the 12.5 was what it was going to be for the coming year, but now we got to go out another year. I think you said you thought it might go up to 15.
I am pretty sure that when they come to us next year, it could be 50. I mean, it could stay at 12.5. They just don't know. And so, when in years past, they have come to us and say, hey, we know this is happening next year, but I don't know if we want to, it's unfortunately, it's really doubling the budget in 2 years, but I think we may see an increase next year, but we may not. I don't know.
So if we're gonna, we'll leave that a separate item, but I was just thinking in the future, if we're gonna continue to incorporate those with a townwide celebration, we could just make that one line and that would cover Everything, the 12.5 is what we're going to be paying next August, if I'm not mistaken. And that will be coming out of
This year.
the 7,500, right? Because we've already paid it.
You will have
We had to
an
send it in
order.
early.
Yeah, you'll have orders next week with that invoice in it.
Right, and we're 5,000 short, so what's your pleasure, folks? Anticipate 15? Or put a different number, 13 or 4, I mean, we're 5,000 short this year.
Yeah.
That's where some of the,
I don't know. I'm not a big fireworks fan, so I may not be the best one to ask.
what if we,
Somewhere in between,
somewhere in between, we go with
13, 5, 14, something like that.
All right,
It
let's
seems
put,
like-
let's put 14.
13,750.
There you go.
All right, 13,750. We just
For
looked into the
fun.
crystal ball.
Well, a year from now, I'll have a good chuckle about that.
Yeah.
So, a year from now, when the contract comes. Oh, yeah, we should have bid 15, okay. Townwide celebration, we're anticipating 3,500.
So I put together the numbers looking at what we did, and the 20, I came up actually a little more, but we are doing more, and that we spent just under 3,000 this year at this event. So I think we need to, we talked about donations for the 8th grade class that wasn't accounted for when we did the budget. So just the food cost went up. We had the Foley donation. We had some signs we had made up, which we hadn't done before. We do the donation to Foley's, which is part of that, the DJ costs in there. So the 2,500 was a good start, but I think as our event size increases, so does our cost.
Bill, with all of that stuff included, it was still under 3.
I came to 2,964.
And I think we actually bought more food than we needed because there was a lot of meat that we didn't grill, and we grilled
Okay.
a lot of
Yeah.
it. So
Well, and so
I'd rather not.
in some years we've had to buy condiments and things like that, and Kamuta's, I think this year, donated that, so that was unexpected. So we typically have to purchase all those things, like the rolls and all the condiments, and some of those things were donated, which we were not anticipating. So that's why there was a difference there, which is why it was maybe a difference. But we could probably go to 3,000 and be close.
We did get a lot of donations, I'm comfortable with 35. There's a lot that goes into it. And
I think that's a good number.
and this is a pretty big celebration for the town.
I think as this takes on a life of its own and it grows, I think you'll find that this gets a little more expensive because it's a fun thing to do. And we'll see how incorporating the fireworks with the celebration might increase the attendance. So, all right, 35 there. The West Rutland taxes are at 1,000, Rutland City real estate tax at 100. Our county tax is 70,000, which is down from last year.
Do we
anticipate that to
actually,
go-
did we get a number on that from the county?
Yeah, so I think I over anticipated last year in anticipation that the taxes were gonna go up, but they've been hovering around 70.
Okay,
But they
All right.
haven't said it yet.
No, but since I've been here, we haven't surpassed 70.
all right.
Okay, I'm
So I think
asking because there were some articles in the paper about increased costs and difficulty of getting sheriffs and so on, so. Okay, we'll do 70. Fingers
Okay.
crossed.
Yeah, tax collector salary. Where did that come from?
I think that is Dawn's.
Yeah, because we don't fund that. That's a self-funding
Yeah.
project.
Yeah.
Marriage licenses, is this just to have marriage license printed? Or
We have to send money to the state for every marriage license that we do. So that's the income and the outgoing. is
okay, so
what we
this is
figured
the
out.
one hand, okay.
Same with the dog
Same with the
licenses.
giants, all righty. Nimerick, we're up a little bit.
Joe?
Yep.
Sorry, I think the tax collector salary was when the 1 year we thought maybe we'll bring it in-house and we needed to put a figure on it. And since
Okay.
we didn't bring it in-house, it's remained at 0. I think that's what happened.
Okay, all right. We didn't fund it this year either.
No,
Okay, Nimerick, they charging us a little more?
We upped it to 10. Since we put that in, I took a professional development class, or yeah, I took a training, and it's suggested, and I would love to have the further discussion to go have NIMRIC on the cloud, which is $10 per user per month. Comes out to, we have 6 users, comes to $60 per month. I didn't include that in this because I had just taken the training and this number was printed before that.
We have 12 on ours. You
We
said
have
10.
12 on our line.
You do? I
Yep.
have 10.
All right,
Well-
and we have 9 for the current budget.
Well, I think 12 is good.
Is
Good
it
enough?
Still more than we need.
Let's see, so 60
60.
times 12.
It's 720.
So I think that'll be fine. 12 would be just perfect.
Okay.
That's going to be another protection for us in case disaster hits this building and our computers go with the disaster. And payroll
Another
also goes
backup.
with the disaster, so just
I think that's
ensuring,
good practical policy to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you increased to 10, they count for something first, and then you're adding that on top.
so I increased
we-
it to 10.
So
I don't know who put 12,
can we
but the
put
7.
11? Would 11 be enough?
You need 720 for
Yeah.
the additional,
I
and the
mean,
9,000 covers, because 1 year we spent 9,700.
yeah. I would
But 9,
be
so
safe to be at 12. You just don't know what we need for support from them. They're our main program.
Yeah, they were 8,700 1 year.
that's cutting it pretty
So
close.
is that driven by their charging for advice or how-
There's certain things that we do pay for every single year, including parts of the program that it's for the listers. That is without the doubt. There's extra things that are in there that will come up and then they charge us for support.
So you want to go with 11? The 9 plus the
We
750.
can go
and
with 11.
11?
Sure.
Okay. Put 11,000 from you. All right, property maps is in at 3,500.
That's a Marcia thing.
That's the
Who's
cost
got-
for the paper maps and the map updates that they do for us.
Okay, is that enough, Bill, as far as you know?
That's the number from Marcia, so we're gonna say yes.
Okay, 'cause it's down significantly from last year.
Last year, I think we accounted for putting it online. I want
Yeah,
to say
so
that.
exactly. So last year, that was the extra money we needed to launch the online lister cards. And that was a
Perfect.
one-time change, so now it's
Okay.
back.
Perfect. Web service and software. I think
Yep.
this is you, Bill.
So we have things like Record Hub and the lister cards being online have both added almost $7,000, $3,500, I'm sorry, $6,500 in annual software maintenance above everything we were already doing. And there's just some other expenses. Microsoft subscription went up. We need another software license in the office for we have a Adobe Professional and we need a second license for that. It's $240, but that's part of that expense. So that's unfortunately it's a pretty big jump, but it's some of the commitments we made for the online records, for the lister cards and the town land records was a big portion of that increase.
Okay. All right. Emergency management, this would reflect our normal amount and then the request from Marty regarding the additional equipment and radios.
Can we buy one radio and then buy another radio next year? and just step that out instead of buying 2 radios out of the get-go. Allocate it.
We could. I don't know. I thought, didn't we vote to approve what he asked? So.
No,
Oh,
no,
I
we
don't
just said we
remember.
were gonna bring it up.
Bring it up tonight.
I mean, I don't,
It's about
ahead, Bill.
$4,700 per setup.
yeah.
Yeah, I think if we broke that out over 2 years, would be.
So, Bill, one of those was for you essentially, right?
Yes.
So
I've talked to Marty about it and if you want to plan for one for in 2024, we can work with that.
Is it,
Yeah.
does it duplicate part of what you have now, or is it, you have to
No,
have both?
there is nothing right now. So this is installing the infrastructure. There is no, it's not a duplicate because it's two different places. Does that answer your question?
Realistically, that should be like emergency management equipment. And it should be a separate line to make it show up more efficiently, because the emergency management line is for like income. So
It's
if
supposed to be
Marty
his
charges-
payroll, yeah.
Yeah, so I think that would be the proper way to do this, would be to add an emergency management equipment line and put $5,000 in there for the radio. And then leave I think the 3 for the salary, so we would just have to generate a 538 number.
Well, it's
Would
gonna
that
be
work
whatever,
okay,
yeah. They'll assign the next number.
Yeah.
It's not as
If we're
easy
doing
as
36.
it's not as easy as that.
Yeah, I know, but that's what I would suggest, that we generate a line for equipment, emergency management equipment, and put 5,000 in it.
Okay.
Does that sound good to everyone?
Well, does it need, I mean, if we're only doing one and we know specifically what it is, could it just be that number?
No, because it never comes out that way.
Yeah, you might have like a little bit of installation or whatever.
Or you might have a little bit of inflation, and, or you might have, because we're talking a year or 9 months from when we put the money in, you know, in I think if we were buying them right off, and then we'll leave the emergency management number at 3,000.
So you want
Marty,
3,000 for Marty, and then you said 5,000 for equipment.
5,000 for equipment.
Okay.
Yep.
Got it.
Okay. Yep. And then we're down to the generator maintenance has gone up to 12,500, and that would reflect the maintenance on one additional generator in town, because this number.
It's our guess.
Yeah, it's our best guess, like we do in this contract.
Why was
is
the
for-
actual so low there in 22, 23?
Because I think they missed some stuff one year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, one year, something happened one year, and that,
they had a change in staff, and the new person didn't send invoices on a fiscal year. They sent them on a calendar year, which messed us up. So they
so-
have put us back to a fiscal year billing cycle.
yeah, so you might actually see somewhere in there, I think we paid a lot, or we overpaid, we paid more than we budgeted one year because of the way it's done.
And we got some money
uh,
back, which credited back. So yeah.
And this covers the generators at Center Outland Station, this building, the generator on Post Road for the pumping station, the town school generator that's up there, the emergency management one. It will cover the generator at the highway garage and the new generator at the fire station. And this, usually it's they change the oil and do a major service, and then they come and do a checkup service on each generator every year. So that's what that covers. All right, we're down to the seniors, and we have $3,000 on the seniors.
Yeah,
Uh,
I had a request from the seniors to up this. Cost of food has gone up. They are meeting more frequently, and there are more seniors who are joining in. I think they're up to about 30 people per event. So I suggest we increase that by $1,500 and go to 45.
Get an argument out of me. That one, the appraisal update. I'm not sure what that, did you get any input on that, Bill, or did Marcia, she gone?
That's a Martian
she's-
number. Yes, she's not here anymore.
Okay,
kind of a
so
big
she
item.
gave you that number?
That is, she gave me that number, and if I remember right, it is, what's the lady from G and K? Her name?
Gail,
Okay.
Gail. She wants to continue with her, and as this year it was 30. So she wants to continue having her. So that would be 30 for her.
What now?
No,
That's
wait,
the business personal property lady.
Yeah, she did, she's the one that does the personal property review and,
yeah, I mean, she's good, but she came in, remember she came in with a whole different contract and they were gonna expand greatly and we said no. Just
remember that.
do the usual stuff. This is a huge increase, so I'd take a harder look at that number.
Did we just spend 30 grand on something that's not reflected?
yeah,
This
hopefully
is
we didn't.
all her question. Or I think it should go toward her. I remember her telling me that's what that is.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
they were gonna spend a bunch of money and we
I thought we said no.
dialed that back.
I thought we
yeah.
dialed
We
that.
did
This
say
sounds
no.
like, yeah, we
Yeah.
did say no, and this sounds like a way of trying to get it back on the table again. So that is a number that's going to hold up this budget because without Marcia's input, we can't put a number in there. And what this 30 grand is actually going to buy us. Hey, look at that. Lister Education is where it should be.
And then the circle, I'm not exactly sure what happened in our calculations,
I
why
missed that.
that's shaded from 22, 23. But she hasn't changed her rates. It's
So the 45 is for
Mhm.
the circle. Okay, that was an empty item. All right, and then the Lister Education.
And the bank charges, luckily, we don't have any. When we do see them, we contact our bank and he takes care of them.
So do we want to, the last three items here are for the new public safety building for electricity. It's actually heating, probably going to be propane because that's what they're using. Do we want to try to put something in for next year? Or do we, starting sometime in October, or do we want to wait and take a wait and see attitude? Because there'll be money in the fire budget.
Can I ask something about this? And this
Go
is
ahead.
not to cause controversy at all, but it's just more common sense in my head. So Chris is budgeting for his portion, technically. Why are we budgeting in general for what could be police?
No, the intent is that the entire cost for that building will come out of the general. And
The
they won't,
future?
huh?
In the future?
Yes,
Why?
because there's no way of separating it.
Can't divide it.
You can't separate it unless you meter everything, there's no way to separate it. So the public safety building will become a general expense to the town. And Chris's budget will reflect the reduction. So if we put numbers in here, technically, we are funding that building twice for fuel, electricity, and maintenance. I thought the plan is that we were going to go through one fiscal year,
Yeah, but then I
and
got
then
thinking about it.
a year from now, it's going to be actually 2 years from now, because the next fiscal year, whatever costs are incurred by that building will come out of fire. And
So
then
really-
once, because there's no way to anticipate what it's going to cost to heat that, pay for electricity, and then because there are two agencies in there, it'd be impossible to put it into either budget.
So are you saying that in the future, police know, this is not personal, but whoever would be in police, whatever would be in police, they're never gonna reflect the expenses in their budget for that new building when they sit in there?
No,
Fire.
they don't now.
Yeah,
They're
fire
here, and there's no separate thing in their budget for heat or electricity in this building. Or maintenance, so it won't be any different. It'll just be that public safety building, it'll be like when you have the utilities for the transfer station, any monies there, they're in this general budget. So this building, because it's unique. If we had two separate buildings, then we would have three buildings. You'd have two fire stations and a police, and you could separate it out. But I don't know how we could throw any numbers at that, because I think these are way high personally.
Well, so
I think we're gonna-
you had
Go ahead.
request, remember the fire committee came in and to the full select board and said, what do you want us to do with this? And you said, well, we need to start reflecting something in the general budget. So that's why it shows up at two places. I think it's a good idea to get people used to the idea that we're going to be combining and putting it all under general. If you want to adjust the numbers, fine, but I think, you know, in that fiscal year, we will have a new public safety building up and running, and there may not be enough in Chris's budget to cover it. So that's, we asked you how to do this, and you said stick some line items in the general, so that's what happened.
We know that the
So-
first part of the fiscal year, the building won't be operating, so there'll be
Correct.
some say, but probably it's supposed to be operating for most of the heating season.
Next year,
Right.
it should be up and running by October or
So I
November.
suspect that whatever Chris normally budgets for heat won't be sufficient. So I think there should be something in here, whether it needs to be this much.
So
I
the
don't know.
fire budget has for heating fuel is 9,500, which is the same as what we got here.
It would be,
Electricity,
I
6,000.
think there was some conversation actually
Right.
about doubling.
And the
that's why
building
these are
maintenance
here,
is
but-
7,500.
so, Bill,
One building.
Bill.
Yes, sir.
Because the Center Rutland Station is heated with propane and the McKinley Station was heated with fuel oil, would it be possible to separate those two amounts? And actually, the light bills are separate. So realistically, we could have a number for each building. Could we not?
For the two fire stations?
Yeah,
The two existing ones.
the two existing ones.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
I mean, that would-
all the utility bills are billed separately. They're
Right.
just paid for out of one account, but they are billed by the individual vendors. Even Green Mountain Power, we get a power bill for every meter.
Right, so realistically, we could have a number for McKinley. And we could have for electricity and the heat. And then we would have the same for center, and then we could see what those deduct centers from the total, would know what we'd have to operate. This new building should not require $7,500 in maintenance, because if it does, I'm going to be very, very angry. I don't think you spend hardly anything on center, do you? Some, but not a lot. One of the ways we could do this, if you wanted to put something in here, we could just put $1,000 in each of these. But the thing is we'll be putting money in theoretically for the same building from two places. And I don't know how that's gonna mess.
They can cut the maintenance and cut the other two numbers in half. So it's just my wild
And
guess,
do you wanna,
gut feeling.
so,
finger in the air.
so what we could do is get the actual numbers for electricity and heat, or propane and fuel oil for the two stations. Deduct those amounts from Chris's budget. So let's say you
Right.
spent 5,000 on electricity for the two stations. We
Right,
find out Center Rutland's is 2, McKinley's
Right.
is 3,
right.
okay? Reduce his budget by that amount, take the propane amount for center and the fuel oil amount for McKinley. And Chris would budget for propane and electricity just for center. The difference
Yes.
would go into the new building, and we'll either sink or swim.
So this
that
is
w-
what you said you didn't want to do. All of
I know,
this
but it,
backing out.
but I didn't want to,
So we've now got to redo the fire budget too.
well, we just deduct it by that amount. We approved it as presented, but I didn't realize in the general budget, we were going to see monies, because I don't think we should budget money for the same building twice.
But I remember commenting on this pendulum swing in the
Yeah.
meeting when it came up, because at first I said, this isn't enough, the heating's gonna be more, and then you said double it. So that's how I think we ended up here,
But we could come up with accurate numbers for the center station. Pretty close. And with a 5 or 10% increase to cover inflation.
So tell
I
me
guess-
exactly, well, no, never mind. You
Oh,
want
go
us
ahead, go
to
ahead.
do fire, and now we gotta find some figures to go in here for public safety building.
What I would do is take the amount we actually spent for Center Station for heat and electricity, and the actual amount we spent at McKinley for heat and electricity, and assign the center numbers to Chris's budget with a increase for inflation or anticipated cost. Take the McKinley numbers and assign those to the general budget for the public safety building.
Or at least, like,
Okay,
Well, it'll be at least that much or maybe a little more.
right.
This building is bigger, but it's going to be way more efficient. I wouldn't be a bit surprised if it costs less to heat.
I hope so.
I hope so.
But again,
That old cinder block building was a little rough to heat some days.
Yes, so that, in that way, it'll give us a number to work with.
I get that
Yep.
completely. I agree with there,
Okay.
right? But if we're going to reflect,
You,
I guess I'm still not convinced that this should be in general. It should be in the police.
there's no way to do it, there's no way to do it.
Why
not-
can't we just put these lines in the police budget? You know what I mean? Like,
because that's the whole building.
Because it's the whole building. It's not, it doesn't reflect accurately because part of that heat is for each department. This is what happens when you have two.
yeah, but we
it-
can use two lines when the budget, when
But-
the bills come in, we always split things.
But you don't know how. How much how much heat is the police gonna use and how much heat is the other one gonna use? You can't, I think we're gonna have to run a couple of years with this cohabitation building. And then there might be some adjustments on how we do it. I don't think it matters because the
eventually
cost
we-
of, the cost of the taxpayers is not going to
No.
change. It's just what is actually reflected, since there's never been a heat or electrical component to the police budget for their entire existence. It's not, it's always been paid, but it's never been there. So you haven't been, in the past, we've never said, okay, Ed, you got to put $1,000 in your budget to heat this building.
Right.
So why start now?
Because taxpayers may want to know that number.
Well, if we get a lot of grief on it, then I
Well,
think.
I mean,
we'll-
we don't charge the select board for heat in our room. We don't charge the select board for electricity in the room. We don't charge the town clerk for electricity on her
Right,
side.
or the listers. Yeah,
Or the
so
listers.
I think
So,
just.
No, I
yeah,
get
it makes
that.
some
Right.
sense to have a combined. It's just
those
contrary to
three
what I
items.
thought our instructions were, so now we have to go redo.
Yeah, we have to do a little bit, but it's not that difficult. We just get some numbers.
It's
and-
just finding the flip and time to do it,
Yeah.
but we'll get it
Understand.
done.
We'll get it, we get everything done and we've never gone to vote without a ballots and without this done. We're a very efficient board that gets things, but I think that's going to be the easiest way. Show it one place, show it
That
here.
makes me feel better
And,
because we were double dipping.
so
in
would,
a
how difficult, Chris, do you
yeah.
think it'll be with a little help from Bill and where do you get your propane, Keezers? Or Procter Gas to see if they can give us, Johnson Energy should be able to tell us what they delivered at. Yeah, and we could figure that, we get those numbers and then the two light bills. And we'll put the Center Rutland numbers in
Yeah.
Chris's budget and the McKinley numbers in the general.
Yeah.
And go from there 1 year. And for the building maintenance, I just put $1,000, but that building's under warranty for a few years, so there should be like zero maintenance. But I think
Maintenance
that's,
might also include cleaning, so there won't be zero maintenance, I would guess.
well, unless they hire somebody to clean, but the fire department has never hired anybody in the existence I know of. Do you have a cleaning service come in?
I don't, but I buy paper towels and stuff out of that.
It's supposed to
Ah,
be
the
a nicer
maintenance?
building, so probably
Yeah.
somebody ought to clean it. It's not just a garage.
So those supplies, see, that's where there's gonna be a little, like, stuff you need for what you do in the new building will be part of your building maintenance. So there will be a little bit in your budget coming out of there. They'll overlap. In the same with you, Ed. You're gonna probably have to have a building maintenance line item coming for, which will include if you hire if you decide like we do here at the town office, we have a cleaning service come in and clean your offices and do stuff. Because right now, nobody does it, or do you guys do it?
Lynn does it.
Lynn does it? Okay. Yeah, but you're gonna have several,
Vacuums your closet.
yeah, so
3 passes.
you're gonna need, that'll be a little, but those are things that we're gonna have to grow into.
I suspect the only place will really be probably Holden cell area.
Yeah, so,
Get your pressure washer.
That might work, actually.
all right, so we can figure that out. So,
What,
so
do
this
you-
budget,
am
we
I
already
making
had
changes?
one item that was pending that
Are
we
we
had to
making
work on.
changes to these 3 lines or we leave, I'm not, what are we doing with those 3 lines?
What we're gonna do with those 3 lines, I think, though, is the consensus is the building maintenance for that building. We'll put a $1,500 in there to see whatever, because I don't know what that's gonna be, and we gotta figure out that. The electricity, we're gonna try to come up with a number that was used at McKinley Station for the last fiscal year. And then we'll add a 5 or 10% inflation. The same with the heating for McKinley Station. We'll try to
Okay.
figure out what that is. And those will be the numbers we put in to the general general fund budget for the
Okay,
public
so-
safety building. Yeah.
Okay,
And then
so for right now,
Chris,
they're gonna be blank for right now.
they're gonna be right blank for tonight, just except for, what do you want for the maintenance? Couple of thousand, just for.
So
that
who
might
do you
show up.
want
You
to
guys will
figure
have-
these things out?
Yeah. What, Mary?
So who's in charge of getting these numbers together?
The electricity I could probably help out with because that's just looking at the bills.
Yeah.
Well,
Chris,
it's
do you want to
the bills,
do the
but-
heat?
But we had, if you think about it, you had McKinley Station, which was used part-time. And now the new McKinley will be used full-time. So the electricity is going to be more than just an increase for inflation.
Oh,
The
Yeah,
heating
some of
probably
it, though,
very
but-
similar.
There's a considerable amount of heat or electricity that went into heating that building and running those modines.
And as I say, once we get the actual numbers for what it costs to heat and electrify McKinley Station, we can determine a percentage increase as anticipated for the new building.
I mean, it's obviously not gonna be dead on, but it's gonna give us something. to work
We'll
with.
start. I mean, and then once you get through a heating cycle or two, and if then we'll be able to do it. But this will show these new items in there. It shouldn't be too difficult to come up with those heating numbers. And Carrie, you thought you
I
could
can
do
do
like,
the electricity.
okay, and we'll put down 2,000 for the building maintenance, just to cover cleaning or supplies that might be, but Chris has money in your account. And then the counterpart to this is whatever you find for McKinley for heat and electricity, you want to deduct that from your budget. So your budget's going to go down a little bit. Okay, everybody okay with that? Even though we approve those numbers, we'll just modify them. Do you get all that, Bill?
I think so.
Okay, I can explain it to you.
No, I
in
got
person.
it. I've been kind of live updating as they go along. So yeah, so.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense.
All right, so
Well,
Carrie,
as
you
as
okay
long
with
as we're
these?
revisiting things, if we've now decided this, we realize that when the new McKinley Safety Building is built, there's going to be an empty room on the main floor of Town Hall. And I don't know if you've budgeted, if the building committee has met and budgeted any money for what, or made proposals as to what that room will be for, but you know, if we're budgeting to look ahead, what's the plan for that room? And do we have money to address it?
It can sit empty.
How many more
for all,
hours
like-
are we gonna be here?
This is, there's 40,000, Mary, in the building maintenance for this building.
Yeah, I
Some of
know.
that
It's
is
the same as what
normal.
it was last year, and most of it is for the downstairs renovation, which is why I'm asking, are we putting more in, anticipating that we've now got a room up there to turn around and do something different with?
We can go back to putting our brooms and mops in it like we did before.
At this point, I don't think we've decided what's going to happen as a board or anyone, what that room is going to become after the police department does a merry exit here in about 11 months. You know, do you have any ideas what you want to use to build? Is there any ideas what you thought it might be needed for additional space or?
There have been a few discussions, nothing's decided yet, but, there are things
Maybe-
we will need to do in there, but there's one thing, there's a safe that we have to decide what we want to do with, but yeah, there's the building committee, next time the building committee meets to talk about the renovation downstairs, we can have that on the list of things to go over.
I mean, I'm thinking maybe some of the stuff that's currently downstairs that's going to have to find a new home would migrate upstairs. Some of that stuff that's, you know, I anticipate it as, unless we need another office, and I don't know that we need another office. Because we anticipate that the planning commission is going to get an office downstairs. I think that was part of our remodeling.
Yep.
So they'll have their own space. And there will be bathrooms and a nice meeting room and facilities there. So the downstairs, so this could be, I don't know of anybody else that needs an office here in the building.
We had a couple ideas, but like Bill said, I think building committee should talk about it.
Yeah.
But if we're anticipating, I know that when Bill did his renovations in his office, what was it, Bill? Was it like 7,000 for your room?
I'm not even sure it was, well, that included the desk, but that
10.
wasn't even, yeah, it wasn't that much, but there,
Maybe
there's
we
some things we should do in
just-
there, like we could replace the carpet, you know, ahead of time, and you know, it's been a while since I've actually, you know, taken a hard look, but once everything gets moved out of there, I think we'll have a better idea of what we can actually do with it.
What I think Mary was trying to think about though is a rough idea of how much do we want to think about? Like, do you think $5,000 in paint and carpet would be
I think that-
sufficient to add to?
Yeah.
I think we'll have a better idea of budget season next year.
I
because
think,
we're-
I don't know if that's anything pressing that we need to have in the 24-25
I don't
budget.
think so.
Cause I mean, it's gonna be probably October before they're moved out.
Right, and then we'll
Just
decide,
thinking ahead.
and so you're only, I mean, that room could sit empty for 9 months.
It could, I'm just
And
going
then,
on.
and then
what-
if something comes up and we have a good use, then when we're doing budgets next year, we'll figure out what we want to go there, because I think
We'll also have a better idea with what's going on downstairs and where we're spending.
where we are with the downstairs, because the renovations downstairs will either be funded through the capital improvement fund or some type of other fund. I mean, because that'll be a pretty big hit. I mean, I expect somewhere between
Yeah.
250, maybe 350,000 to renovate downstairs. That we know that's the anticipated cost, but we've got to get there. So we'll keep that pending as far as the what to do with that room. And maybe kick around some ideas and then we can fund that. And we always do have the capital improvement fund as a way to modify that room or refurbish that room. We've used those funds, some of which in this building for doing some of the work. So right now, I think most of the building maintenance money is reflected into the actual cost for maintenance for the building and then the preliminary work with the downstairs renovation. You know, hopefully we'll go through with the grant for the charging systems or the cars, and that money that they offer for the upgrading the electrical will be a big chunk of what gets done down there that we need to do. So there'll be slight modifications on the fire budget and the general, but otherwise I think we've accomplished everything we needed to.
So
Most of it up.
what happens next?
So once we have those numbers for the fire station, those actual numbers, maybe as soon as the next board meeting, we can revisit these. I think probably we'll just put that on the agenda for the 19th is to revisit reductions for fire and the additions to this. There was something else in this general budget
It was
that was
Marcia's
pending.
question.
Marcia's question.
Marcia's questions, that was at the 30,000.
Yes.
So we're gonna hang on. So we wouldn't have
Yeah,
been
we
able to
can't
finish
do it
this one.
Yeah.
We need a question mark there. So I'm gonna leave this one right here. Is that satisfactory, Mary? Does that seem like a good plan?
Yeah.
Not exactly. I can tell by that smile.
No, it's like, I have been to so many meetings, and the fire committee now has to, meet again and adjust, and Matt and I have to do finance and we have to do.
Mary, I wouldn't
need-
waste your time at a committee meeting.
You don't need a committee meeting. We've, as a group, the four of us, I think, have agreed to a plan of action. So
All we
Yeah.
need is some receipts.
all we need to do is just a reduction from the budget. We accepted the budget as presented. But we
Yeah, I
find
know,
that
but
we're
we've
gonna
got to modify
make
it.
it-
We've got to modify that.
we
We've
gotta
gotta
modify it a little bit,
modify
but
the general. So we've got
Oh.
discussions coming up in that. We've got to put some grant income in the general. So, we've got
Yeah.
to look at a revised general anyway, and we may not be able to do a final job, but we should at least see what it looks like for our next select board meeting.
yeah, I think you're right. And,
Yeah.
and if once we get the electrical numbers for Center or for McKinley and the fuel, that'll be an easy adjustment to the fire budget. It's always nice when it goes down a little bit, right, Chris? It is, yeah. So I think we're-
What, if I may interject, what is the plan to piggyback off of you? What's the plan for talking more in the police area?
Oh, well, Mary and I were talking about scheduling a meeting. You want to talk about that now?
Get it
Oh,
off.
that's another
get it
one we
done.
got to do. Yep. But we also have to pull in, I think, the auditor and Carrie, because we want to make sure we're reflecting how much of the time is actually spent at the south end of town. And the 10% seemed, I think, to all of us kind of low. So that's,
More concerned about the accounting issues personally, but anyways, we all need to get together, I think, to talk about them.
Do you have
So-
any ideas, Fred? How where we are?
The only
For your
day
meeting?
this week Andrew
No.
can't do it is Friday.
That's the only day he can't do
He
it.
can't do it on Friday.
that was the only day.
It's like the only one day we could do it.
He's got bank audits going on right now.
Oh.
So I think
Okay.
this would be a good time, maybe the three of you, four of you, and of course you got to filter in an auditor there, so see what their times are, but try to come up with a meeting for that.
Well, that's
the
what
only
we've been
one. I
trying to
think.
do.
Yeah. Well, you could stay late tonight. We'll all go home before you can
Well,
stay.
no, we can't get Andrew.
No, we
He
need
wouldn't
Andrew.
want to do
We need
it.
Andrew. He's kind of the
I'm
key.
maxed
Yeah.
out. I'm good.
Yeah, you could. I mean, I think you're right. You really need the auditor to help with
Oh,
how it's.
and
gonna
then there's
look at-
our bond application is due Monday.
Oh, yeah. one
So
test,
there's
but-
all of that little thing, which is why I had you do the 2 resolutions tonight.
Yeah, we got that done. So we're
Where
good
where
there.
do things stand with that then?
Well,
Generally?
we divvied up, we divvied up between Carrie and I, who needed to get what information. And the big piece that I think we're waiting for is Ed Clark has to do the, what we're actually building part of the thing. And JP was supposed to be in the loop, so I've got to send him reminders. Carrie hasn't seen anything. I had like 3 things to do, and I think I've got them all done. We've got bond counsel. We had one question about pending litigation, and there was one other thing. And I know Carrie's been putting stuff together for the vote and the certification of the vote, and that all has to go to bond counsel, because the bond counsel by Monday has to certify that we did all of the voting correctly. And we need all of the numbers together. So that's why, we're trying to fit these meetings in, people.
So,
But the priority right
Do you
now
want me-
is,
Do you want me to build a fire under JP?
I
The
don't know
last
what
time-
will work, but it's got to be Ed and the numbers, because I think we went to JP first and said, we need to know these. And
Okay,
we
so what do
sent
we?
the-
Yeah,
we
what do we
sent the
need from?
application
Ed?
portion to them. They couldn't use the link, so they came back to us. So we had to say, no, okay. And Carrie had to actually run off the pages that they needed to fill in. So
Oh,
Bill's meeting with Ed tomorrow. Do we want him to ask him?
That would be
Where's that?
fantastic, where he's
Excellent.
at. with it.
Okay,
Yeah,
what is the
because-
specific question we need to, what's the specific
Part
information from Ed?
4, we need him to fill in part 4 of the bond application and that he already had. Isn't that the section, Carrie?
So,
Got
both,
that, Bill?
both
Got it.
JP and Ed and whoever else was on that email, I don't even remember at this point. I put the PDF version of the loan application on that email. Ed Clark has been asked to fill in the impact for the impact section.
Okay,
And that's what I'm waiting for.
okay. So tomorrow,
yeah.
well, he is here. Billy, nail his toes to the floor there till Carrie gets done with him.
Well, he'll be in his office and I'll be here, but we'll be talking, but he won't be in the building. But I'll see what I
Okay,
can do.
all right, but
So then,
so
Mary,
that-
I think we need to push our meeting till after next Monday.
Oh, yeah.
And
For Andrew,
it's, maybe Andrew can give us dates and
yeah.
yeah, 'cause,
then we can coordinate our calendars accordingly.
I mean, worst comes to worst, if we have to get together on an off night for an hour and 25, well, 2 hours, to do the general. We did 4 budgets in an hour, and this one we've been on for 2, but I've been here for a lot of years, so that's always the way it is.
And then you
we can
undid
figure-
a couple, so, you know,
Is that Mary? Yeah,
never
the
mind.
general always is the one that has the most controversy, because there's so many components to it. It's such a long budget.
All right.
So Matt, I talked with Andrew today. He came over and we talked a lot about this. Not gonna get into any detail, but I think your idea of meeting,
He'll be making.
asking him about meeting for next week or whatever his schedule is a good idea, and get the bond stuff done first.
Yes,
Plus I
absolutely.
added.
Dell's talking is taking over the audio in the meeting. I can't hear anybody else but Dell.
Hey, Dal.
Now,
Motion to
we'll,
adjourn.
we'll carry that discussion later. So anything else that we need to discuss, you guys are gonna work out a schedule for your police committee meeting.
Yes.
That works. We're gonna try to get the information out of Ed Clark when he's online with Bill tomorrow on the phone or whatever, and tell him that we needed this stuff last week. He's pretty good about getting stuff done, and he knows you're against the deadline. He's done enough of these. He should know exactly what you need. And I think we have accomplished everything we needed to tonight, maybe stuff we didn't plan on.
Move to adjourn.
We have a motion on the floor to adjourn. Mary, do you second it?
Oh, you betcha I do. Before you
Okay.
get something else to do.
All right, very good. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Twice. All right.
We gotta
Thank you
revisit
all.
this Anyway.
Night.
So Joe,
What?